Welcome to another DCU Daily. Here we are at the end of the week, so that means not just DCU Daily today, but in addition to that, we also have Fancast Friday. Of course, we will be getting into that after this show, but very exciting things to be talking about for both. Obviously, today we will be talking about, of course, box office milestones, because Zootopia 2 made its the milestone that we've all been waiting for. So we will be talking about that. Some more merger stuff. We're going to go through that as quickly as we can. And then we're going to talk about the Friday the 13th prequel series, because the showrunner let loose some things in regards to that. And then we have our MCU Weekly, mainly talking about Doomsday, but a couple other things as well. And then some MovieTalk Madness. We're going to be talking about Street Fighter and mainly the Odyssey, because some things have leaked, so we will be talking about that. And then our quick hits, as always. And then the show that everyone is here to see, DCU Daily. Of course, we have some quick hits. What did Gunn say? Stuff about Lantern, stuff about Supergirl mainly. And then apparently Matt Reeves' upcoming Batman may or may not have Brad Pitt. We'll see. But of course, all of that and more after this wonderful intro, showing that we are indeed Signoffs.
It doesn't seem to matter what I do. I'm always the number two.
All right, mister, I need to paint my abs on to get nominated. You don't see Robert Downey doing that.
You're kidding. You're kidding. I can't open the envelope without the...
Warner Brothers is heading back into the Matrix with a new movie in the works.
Wonder what other surprises are in store.
I want to be Bruce Wayne. I like that. You're gonna love me.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see
right there.
You look ridiculous.
Well, not no more, he don't.
What, dude? I can barely understand you. Your accent's insane.
What
Give me a hand up. Nope, I'm actually okay. Thank you very much.
Oh, wow! Wow!
Of course. I'm your host, as always, John. Lovely to see you all, but welcome to the news. We are going to get started with, again, some not great news following, we did this a couple days ago. Unfortunately, there has been another death for people with wonderful childhoods, and that is unfortunately Jim Ward. He has passed away at the age of 66. He was known for Diamond Head, Doug Dimmadome, Chet You Betcha, and plenty of others. Unfortunately, we have to comment on this. And Jim Ward passed away. So we are, of course, going to be talking about that extensively for a little bit, for at least a little bit. And it's very sad that we have to deal with this once again. But, you know, people die all the time. And apparently it was due to Alzheimer's. And he died a couple days ago, but he's been in so many animated shows, I'm sure, even though you don't know the face and might not know the name off the top of your head, you do know the voice with many, and he will be greatly missed, because I watched Fairly Odd Parents, I watched Ben 10, I didn't watch Wolverine and the X-Men, but I do remember Doug Dimmadome of the Dimsdale Dimmadome, and then Chet You Betcha, of course, and Diamond Head, and yeah, it's always a sad time dealing with this. We lost Jeff Garcia. Jeff Garcia was the voice of Sheen, and he passed away a couple days ago at the age of 50. We did comment on that the other day. So very sad to see another one who's I wouldn't say he's old or young. I wouldn't say not too old, not too young, but still enough life in him that he could have gone a little bit longer. But it just goes to show how saddening and anger-inducing, you know, Alzheimer's is, dementia, all that stuff. So, you know, I will remember his great voices, even maybe the few faces he's done if he wasn't strictly a voice actor. But yeah, very sad to see, and he will be remembered as one of the greats. So thank you, Jim Ward. Wherever you are in the known universe, I hope you have found some peace. But we're going to be moving on to a little bit brighter news, sticking with the animation category. And we're going to be talking about Zootopia. Zootopia has finally passed $1 billion at the worldwide box office after just 17 days in theaters. So after a couple days, we have finally gotten to the inevitable point that Zootopia 2 was going to reach. Yeah, everyone knew with how this movie absolutely exploded, is that and I think I mean, I'm on the fence. One thing, I hate Disney. Very much. Oh, I just realized I have stains on my shirt. Oh no. Okay. Well, we'll just ignore that. I'll lean in a bit. I apologize for that. But of course, yeah, it's just insane. Apparently it was the fastest PG film to ever reach a box office milestone. That is 17 days, a little bit more than 2 weeks. So congrats to them. As I said, I'm on the fence because I hate Disney and I hate sequelitis, and I want more original movies like showcasing the greatness of movies. But hey, that's not what sells anymore. So I'll take the kind of W because it's a great movie. I'd rather have it. I mean, it just passed Minecraft, so that's pretty good, thank God. But I know it's no, because we can actually deal with our emotions, unlike some people. So um, but Zootopia 2, yeah, it's crossing this like huge thing. Of course, Disney has had pretty much almost nonstop hits for their animation studio. We're not talking about like Marvel or shit like that. We're just talking about specifically animation, and they've had now $5 billion titles, which is Frozen 1 and 2, Zootopia 1 and 2, and then Moana 2. So, it shows that Disney isn't like everyone's like, oh, Disney's gonna fucking falter. They're gonna do that. No, they're not. Sure, they might not be getting as much profit, and they're like, oh, the whole go woke, go broke crowd is like, yes, Disney's gonna fail. It's not gonna fail anytime soon. Bob Iger isn't going anywhere. Kathleen Kennedy isn't going anywhere. I think everyone needs to calm down because they're still making gargantuan hits like this. So, yeah, I think it's insane. It's insane, and it's only behind. I believe it's only behind Avengers Endgame in terms of So it's the number 2 MPA release of all time in the country, behind Marvel Avengers Endgame with an estimated $447.2 million to date, while Avengers Endgame has 632 million. So, Walt Disney Studios now also holds 3 of the top 5 highest grossing MPA titles ever released in China. So, it's congratulations. Again, it's insane. I'm on the fence about it. Because again, Disney is a very not great company, and I wish they actually respected their audience. And the whole thing with the AI thing, it's not great. But congrats. It's still I'm glad that a great movie without lava chickens and chicken jockeys actually is more deserving of $1 billion rather than that crap and then yet another animated live action remake. So I guess that's something, right? But obviously, it's still making noise, as it's saying. It's still making noise. So, lovely to see. But that is, of course, not all. We are going to be getting into some other things um, in regards to the news, and that's more merger talk. Unfortunately, we're going to still be talking about this until this deal finally goes through Paramount or Netflix, whatever the hell it is. But speaking of Disney, Bob Iger weighs in with concerns over Netflix pricing leverage over the consumer if streamer acquires Warner Brothers streaming and studio assets. So, as the battle between Netflix and Paramount heats up over who will own Warner Brothers, Bob Iger on Thursday strategically stepped in with some opinions of his own. With his eyes on the streaming wars endgame, Iger wouldn't openly reveal whether he prefers Paramount or Netflix to be the new owner of Warner Brothers Discovery, but the Disney boss clearly had some concerns and some perspective. It's nice to be an observer and not a participant in this. In effect, the position that we're taking is kind of looking at what we did and now looking at what others have determined they must do in order to succeed. With his own experience at the fore, the CEO, who is set again to leave Disney next year, was referring to the $72 billion acquisition of Fox a couple of years ago, which they are still reeling the effects from. So, yeah, I just think he's staying like very hands off. Um, you know, uh, he's being very vague. He's being very like kind of outside of this, but it's all just I don't know. Talk about this.
I mean, I just wanted to add, like, that's like Bob Iger just knows that this is just not well. He's basically saying is it's bad for the in terms of the leverage that Netflix will have over the customer because they'll own so much content if Netflix gets all of Warner Brothers, so or at least their IP. Whereas if Paramount gets it, then that's a different kind of situation where, well, I mean, Paramount still has a lot of IP. He's just saying whoever ends up with this, it's gonna affect the market, and basically we will pay more money. So, yeah, there's that. We'll get back to this in a little bit, though. John, I believe we have some Friday the 13th news to get into, and then we'll circle back to more talking about
Okay.
the Warner Bros. Discovery sale. Yep.
But we have, Crystal Lake, which is the A24 produced, I think, Peacock series in regards to the Friday the 13th franchise. It's going to be this prequel to the 1980 film. And it's going to be apparently not quite a slasher. One of the executive producers, mainly the showrunner, was saying how Brad Caleb Kane specifically explained that the Peacock show is not quite a slasher, but more of a psychological thriller that follows Pamela Voorhees before her son Jason's death at the titular summer camp. It's a paranoid 70s thriller. It has all the DNA of a slasher without quite being a slasher. There are rivers of blood in the show. There are very, I think, ingenious kill sequences and deaths and murders, but it's all done in service of the character and theme and place and time. So I think this is definitely the way to go because I feel like just having a slasher, um, you know, just having it be a slasher, just like constant kills for like an entire like season or multiple seasons of a show doesn't totally work. I think personally, what they should do, I don't know if they are gonna do this. I think that season one should end with Jason's death. Like that is what like you show the buildup of like being at summer camp, Jason getting bullied, his mother being the cook, and like kind of observing all of this, showcasing the love she has for her son to really show like how far she was gonna go to like kill the people that did this, but then extend that further to people that didn't even do anything. So I feel like having the buildup of season one and maybe hopefully multiple seasons is that like it shows like her love for Jason, but like it's almost like an obsession, like kind of like very psycho-esque. And then like that love breaks, Jason's gone, and then she like fully just absolutely fucking snaps, not only killing them, but like going like further and further down the rabbit hole. I don't know what they would do for like multiple seasons. Because the first one should be about like the lead up to the death of Jason, and then season 2 could be about the interim between the camp closing and then her like showing up in the first Friday the 13th. Um it's I think this would be very I think this would be a very interesting show. I think Linda Cardellini, I don't appreciate, milfing every like homely looking character, female character, but like sure. They did it for Aunt May already, and now they're doing it for this. But like, I think this is definitely an intriguing case of it's just like it shows yeah, but okay, that dealt with like demonic beings and like soul jumping and like secret sisters. It's not even close to being the same. It's like clear that yeah, it's like going to be like a Bates Motel kind of thing. Like that's like the vibe I'm getting. And I think sharing is yeah. Um Posting at summer camp is open. Yeah. But I think this is definitely an ingenious way to go, kind of like Alien Earth a little bit. Um how we'll no, we're not going to be doing any hot takes today. No hot take debate today. But I think this is good. I'm curious. I'm not going to be like, "Oh my god, I'm so excited for this." I'm cautious a little bit, but I'm for the most part in terms of cautiously optimistic, I'm more optimistic than cautious. Well, like something like Supergirl, I'm more cautious than optimistic. So, Um yeah, I think this is definitely the way to go. I I love to see it. I think this is great. And I'm glad, and it seems like Sweet Revenge is not gonna be like the start of the whole Jason universe. It looks like that's getting like swept under the rug. So yeah. Hopefully that's the case. Cause yeah, this is great. I'd love to see it. But that's it in regards to Crystal Lake. The next thing we have is, of course, MCU Weekly, but we're going to be getting into that now because we have a lot of Doomsday talk, lots of Doomsday talk. So apparently, the Avengers Doomsday trailer has now arrived in theaters ahead of Avatar: Fire and Ashes release. Rumors that there will be 3 or 4 different Avatar Doomsday teasers have resurfaced today. While this hasn't been officially announced, it seems Earth's mightiest heroes are being used as a selling point for initial and repeat viewings of Avatar: Fire and Ash. Hopefully, Disney and Marvel Studios will make an official announcement soon, including whether they'll receive receiving online releases. Piecing together what we know with hints like this, though, and an online debut following by 3 theater exclusives is definitely plausible. So, is 4 different trailers focusing on each team: the Avengers, the New Avengers, the X-Men, and the Fantastic Four. So, I feel like that's kind of makes sense in its own weird milking the franchise kind of way, but it just goes to show that the Marvel shills are now it's so what I find so funny is the Marvel shills that were so obsessed with Avengers Endgame making more money than Avatar are now the ones that are gonna like push Fire and Ash further because these motherfuckers are gonna go see this. If 3 of those trailers are theater exclusive for Fire and Ash, those motherfuckers are gonna fucking pay every time to go see this movie, like at least for the trailer, and then either try to like film it and then post it online or something like that. But like it's just funny to me that like the Marvel show, they're like, oh fucking Avengers Endgame, it beat Avatar as the highest grossing movie of all time. Suck it, James Cameron. And then like Avatar with a re-release overtook it, and then Way of Water overtook that. So, it's definitely funny. So Daniel Richtman is saying this, who's hit and miss. For the most part hit, but like still little iffy. So yeah, it's definitely something. Yes, I'm very tired. Very tired. Well, always tired. Even when I have the chance to actually get sleep, I don't get sleep because I'm stupid. Um, but but yeah, I think Yeah, exactly. Disney laughing all the way to the bank because they own Fox right now. So, most people do. You're not alone. It's just for some I think it's just like the casuals. They just like Avatar more because of the world and shit. Like fuck the story, but like um yeah, so that kind of makes sense. And apparently but moving on to Secret Wars, apparently Paul Bettany's White Vision is well who's going to appear in Vision Quest. And then speaking to the Telegraph, he said, I think I've got some Avengers duties next year. I think journalists imagine we have a mountain of scripts, and that's not true. It's not like I'm turning down Alfonso Cuarón to go do Marvel movies. Alfonso Cuarón hasn't called. Yeah, because Marvel has for the MCU curse where actors can't get work outside of MCU, so they have to keep going to MCU. Um, but yeah, so it seems as though he is going to appear in Secret Wars, which I feel like makes sense. Um, whatever it is. So I'm guessing he won't die in Vision Quest or Vision Quest, whatever the fuck it's gonna be called. But yeah. What are your thoughts on this, Dan? Paul Bettany returning as Vision outside of the Vision show.
I think this is okay. So I think this is not obviously surprising. It's more just I think more actors are now able to sort of talk about it openly because Marvel would clamp this down pretty quickly if this was something that was like not supposed to be public. And it might also be a matter of just the fact that hey, oops, it might just all be a matter of like they're talking about doing reshoots. So at this point, the movie is probably more locked in terms of the story than going in and essentially putting the pieces like Marvel does with these bigger projects. They're sort of like a jigsaw puzzle that they're putting together as they go. And they might do significant reshoots if things change, especially with like the second movie in the series is going to be affected by the first one because the Doomsday will play into Secret Wars. I did want to actually go back for a moment to the previous story though, John, because what's interesting about the Avengers Doomsday trailers being now in theaters, this is a slightly misleading headline because if you scroll down in the article, there's been rumors going about throughout the day that we might be getting not just 1, 2, or 3, but potentially 4 trailers. Obviously, you mentioned it was Daniel Rickman talking about it. Where that comes from is the idea that, remember we talked about it not too long ago, there's meant to be potentially 3 teaser trailers where they might put it out like every weekend you go to see Avatar, you might see a new teaser trailer. So you might see 3 different versions. And then they're saying there might not be a 4th one, basically implying that the 4th one might either be for like added to a 4th week of release for Avatar, or like what they did with the Odyssey in the summer, the trailer that they put out, like the teaser, that was exclusive to theaters, and then I think ultimately it ended up online because it got leaked. But I don't think they plan on putting that prologue that we're going to talk about in a bit online for the Odyssey. Like it's theater exclusive. So, well, hello everybody. So I think this is my speculation based on all of these rumors is that this 4th Avengers Doomsday trailer is the one that we'll actually have online. For the other 3, you'll have to go to the theater. What's the other cool thing about this article, if you scroll down, is somebody who actually apparently works at one of the theaters posted these photos, and this is kind of like just behind the scenes baseball like stuff. Just it's interesting stuff if you have ever thought about like how do movies play in theaters these days, because it's not like they're playing reels on did they confirm THR? Can we find that, John?
I'll bring that up.
Yeah, so let's bring that up. But that image there, by the way, that's worth looking at. Like the tweet, we'll go back to that afterward because it actually shows you the theaters. The way this works today, because it's all digital, they're not doing actual film projection unless you go to an IMAX 70mm film projection theater, but there's like a handful of in the entire country. Basically, you have like a file that gets downloaded from a server for the movie theater to play for you. And that is that file, it's like a digital file. It's like several gigabytes, maybe even a few terabytes, depending on the size of the movie, the length of the movie.
On the Hollywood Reporter.
It might be on like Twitter, like hello Caleb. CC Black, you were saying this, and thank you for the super chat. Is this something that was just tweeted out? It might be like on X or something, but we'll see if we can find it. But in the meantime, yeah, I just want to, if you can, John, put that other screen up for a moment.
Yep.
Unless you found the yeah, okay, let's go back to that, because this here is about as much confirmation as anybody's ever going to give you in terms of what's actually available right now. For confirming that the trailer is going to be playing ahead of Avatar. If you click into that tweet for a moment, John, we can kind of like read what it says. Which, by the way, this person, Mike on the Grid, said this trailer file requires like a key, aka like a password for it to play, and the password doesn't become active until the weekend that Avatar is releasing. So right now the file is just encrypted. You can't actually, leak it even if you wanted to, and if you did, somebody would have to crack a code, which will probably take years to do. And it's kind of fun if you look through the file name itself, it actually tells you like it's in 3D. It actually, we have the runtime now. It's confirmed.
There's
for
a
a minute
2D and a
27.
3D one, it looks like.
Yeah, so that depends on which version of the Avatar 3 you're going to go see. If you're going to see it in 3D, the trailer will also be in 3D. And it tells you the language that it's in. It's going to have closed captions or not. So, like, there's all these, like, they don't just give you one file to movie theaters. They get, like, there's probably a dozen different versions of this just because it's a situation where it's got captions on it, or if it's for a different language, things like that even. Oh, where's the super chat? Let's see. We'll bring this one on in later. Okay. So, Justin Geeky Guy, you had a super chat earlier. One leak, I hope the God is true, is that everything after Steve going back in time was all the Splinter timeline, so they'll forget every mishap since. You know what, John? This is a bit of a sidebar, but what do you think about the idea that everything that has happened since Avengers Endgame, in effect, is gonna get wiped out because that's all part of the multiverse and it's a Splinter timeline that, I don't know,
I think that's a fucking pussy ass move.
Yeah.
I think because it's, you know what it's doing? It's like Last Jedi to Rise of Skywalker. It's exactly what Rise of Skywalker did. It backpedaled everything Last Jedi did, and then did its own thing, and then tried to have another move. No, it's a bitch ass move. It is a bitch ass move, because you know what? Who didn't do that? And yeah, they're also not in a good place either. But Doctor Who didn't do that shit with the whole timeless child crap. And don't get me wrong, I hate the timeless child. It sucks. But Doctor Who has not rescinded that, because they're going ahead despite the decision. And you know what? Good on them. They're not pussying out. They're not backpedaling. They're going through with it. Boom. There we go. So even though it's a dog shit decision and most people hate it, it's still better than going the coward's way out. And I think if they do this, it's yet another Last Jedi Rise of Skywalker situation, and they're pussying out. They're taking the coward's way out, and they're backtracking everything, and I think that's bullshit.
I completely understand what you're saying. I also think that if they do it right, people will not care, in the sense that they're just gonna go along with it especially if it's nostalgia.
Yeah, of course.
Bait heavy, right? Like
people are
which is I get that. Like you might think that's a little, I don't know, like a more downbeat way of looking at things, but from a creativity standpoint, like Marvel, even Avengers Endgame wasn't really
from
something.
The email list
super
that
original,
Hollywood Reporter has, by the way.
Okay, so we'll read this out. So this is basically from the Hollywood Reporter's newsletter. They send multiple newsletters out, so this is in there. And here's the thing: there's these newsletters sometimes have reporting that actually isn't in articles, so that we could talk about it here. This is an email from when? This is from December 12th. This is from today, literally from earlier today. So here it says, this is the Hollywood Reporter saying, sources are telling us the trailer for Avengers Doomsday will have a unique rollout, one aimed at getting diehards to see Avatar Fire and Ash multiple times. I wonder if that's more Disney saying they need the extra push for Avatar, or if they just want to do this to drive, more people crazy for the Avengers Doomsday, or both. It could be both. It could be literally be both. But this is what they were saying in the newsletter. You can see it on the screen here. If you're just listening to the show, then I'll read this out. It says Disney is sending theaters 4 different trailers for the Marvel mega movie, The Avengers Doomsday. Each will play for 1 week before switching to the next. So if you see Fire and Ash opening weekend, you'll get trailer 1. If you go a week later, you'll get trailer 2, and so on. Marvel had no comment on the rollout. So, John, based on that, it doesn't specify at all whether all of these trailers will end up online. I was speculating earlier that they do 3 theatrical trailers and then 1 ends up online, so you keep the theatrical exclusivity for the other 3. But if they're doing 4 of them and they're all going to be rolling out week after week after week, we haven't really seen anything like this before. Like I can't remember another movie doing anything like this, or certainly not in recent memory.
The only thing that I can properly think of is when Clue came out and they had multiple endings and they sent different endings to different theaters, but that was a movie, not a trailer. Right. I don't know if like we've ever gotten like a different trailer for the same movie like over and over again. It just goes to show how fucking desperate that Marvel is, that they're like, oh my god, we need Avatar Fire and Ash to make money, and we need fucking Avengers Doomsday to like get people excited. So that, because here's well, first off, the MCU has been mediocrity since before Endgame. So like, first off, get that out of here. Like, unless they plan to rescind Phase 3, then like that's a bullshit argument. First off, second, it just goes to show like how little faith they had in themselves, and it's like, just go. And the thing is, it's getting rebooted anyway. If you're gonna reboot it, why get rid of like a little bit, but then have it be a reboot of like Phase 4 and 5 and 6, but then not have it be a reboot of phases 1 through 3? It's just fucking clear the gamut of everything. Why are you fucking pussyfooting around everything?
Look, I like what he's saying here. CC Black is saying Steve going back in time, he knew that would always have consequences. Like, here's the thing. Here's how I look at it. Kevin Feige himself, he did a big interview. He doesn't do these interviews very often. Like the kind of thing where, like, you know, Peter Safran and James Gunn have been doing this. Like, they'll do a press event, but it will only be for the press. They'll answer questions, and then they'll let that information spread out through all these articles and the coverage, rather than doing just one big Comic-Con event. They haven't done a single one of those outside of like New York Comic-Con, which is the closest thing. Kevin Feige doesn't even do that. He shows up to these big Comic-Con events, but he's not somebody who's ever been really known to do a lot of interviews, right? Certainly not in the past few years. But he did do a big interview for the press. It was kind of similar to what DC has been doing under Safran and Gunn around Fantastic Four coming out this summer. And if you remember what Kevin Feige said, and that he was asked about like reboot, what do you think about, are we rebooting everything after Secret Wars? And he said that the reboot would be at best like a soft reboot. He basically implied that it would be a soft reboot. He's like, some things will change, some characters will be new, but some of the faces will stick around, meaning he would never committed to do a complete hard reboot. So if they go this route, where like Steve Rogers caused all these incursions, and one of, you know, those incursions were in part caused Doctor Doom to have some kind of negative, you know, adverse effect, whether it's his family died or whatever the heck happened, whether it's in the world that the Fantastic Four come from or elsewhere. It would make sense, because then, you know, there's a very personal grudge that he has, and yeah, you could say like, depending on how they play this, because the worst thing they can do is have it be a situation like the Thanos that came back in Avengers Endgame when he was like, I don't even know who you are, but you know, because he wasn't the same Thanos who fought them in Infinity War and won. So I don't want it to be a situation where Steve Rogers is like, I don't even know who you are, dude, but like clearly you have a problem with, I mean, he's obviously in this case Rogers is the good guy, like the dynamic would be opposite, but whether they do it that way and then they completely nullify everything that's happened since Steve Rogers went back. It's so
good that even Caleb has to admit it's good.
It's but whichever way they go about it, I don't mind, because it's going to be a soft reboot, and I'm like, look, I'm waiting to see how good or bad it is. The one thing I do worry about though, John, if they're doing 4 trailers, one of the things that makes trailers valuable is if you don't have a ton of them. Like, what you don't want to do, like this used to happen like for a few years. Remember before the pandemic, for a few years, movie studios used to put out big trailers a year and a half in advance. And then the hype would die down. And I'm not saying Avengers Doomsday is one of those movies. You're not going to kill the hype for Avengers Doomsday, especially if they get it right. So it's not so much that situation, but I'm just wondering, 4 trailers a year before the movie comes out, a week apart, do they even have enough? Are they even willing to give us enough or new footage in each trailer for them to be considered like, oh yeah, this trailer did something different for me than the last one? And then also, these are the first trailer usually is a teaser trailer, so how long are these going to be? Are they going to be 30 seconds long? Or are they going to give us 2-minute long trailers
Well,
every
the
week?
guy
Like it's
said in
like the
this
minute
one-
27, right?
Yeah,
So
he said
that's
a minute 27 seconds.
yeah.
long. So my guess is this. This is my guess. John's theory time. Okay. My guess is this initial trailer is a minute and 27 seconds. That's going to be for the Avengers, as in like Sam's Avengers, because it's called Avengers Doomsday.
I see I see where you're going with this.
They're the
Okay.
Avengers. So that they're going to get a big full trailer. And then each succeeding trailer is going to be focused on another team, New Avengers, the New Avengers / Thunderbolts, X-Men, Fantastic Four. But those are going to be like 30 seconds, 45 seconds, maybe a minute. Because then you can focus in on those, but also not repeat so much footage. And then keep things a mystery so you're not overblowing the audience with too much stuff. That's my theory. So like the main like Avengers, like obviously the thing that's the namesake of the fucking movie, they're gonna get a nice big meaty trailer. And then all the other maybe New Avengers will be a little bit longer since they also have Avengers in their name. But I think for the most part, you're gonna get maybe 30 to 45 seconds for each succeeding trailer for Fantastic Four, X-Men, and New Avengers. That's my theory.
You know what? That's actually a really good way to look at it, because that would not give away too much, and you highlight the litany of characters that you've got. It's still very unique in terms of how they're doing. It's
still
this,
a bit much, but I have a feeling it'll still like go well. Like
the more I think about it, for a movie of this scale and anticipation and this level of cultural, relevance. I don't know, like relevance. That's one way to put it. Or cultural, a movie that has this much cultural cachet. It could work. Like you can't do this for a movie like Supergirl, because you'd be giving away like probably 7-8 minutes worth of footage a year before the movie comes out. But for Doomsday, which will potentially change the entire direction of the MCU, I'm okay with that, especially if they do focus on those individual teams, because now they've actually told us what those teams are.
Like it's splintered, like when he becomes God Emperor Doom or whatever the fuck he's called, he like is able to kill every version of that character. But that's definitely an interesting idea. Plus, it'll be different from like, let's say, Crisis on Infinite Earths, this will most definitely be, like people are going to point out the similarities between the two. And I think with that, I think like killing off a character like multiverse wise would be good, because it's like, okay, Supergirl gets killed off. Well, fucking, Power Girl is there. And then you have like, the Flash got killed off. This version is still around. So it's just like, I think like, if we're killing off, what's a character nobody cares about?
No, but the thing is, it's
like Wolverine, bam, kill every version of Wolverine. Obviously,
we'll talk about that in a moment, because Wolverine might have a big thing, a sequence in this movie or the next one, Doomsday, Secret Wars. But I don't know if you want to kill off characters that nobody knows about. The whole reason why killing off characters has consequences or like just more so emotional impact is when you do that to a character you care about. Like nobody would care if you killed Power Girl if you've only seen her for 5 minutes. People cried over watching Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man dying in Avengers Endgame.
Unless you're my best friend who cheered when he died, but that's an outlier, not the...
But it's like, okay, so MTG in the chat bringing up another question. John, do you think all of these trailers will end up online, or will they have to be leaked online?
I think they're going to be leaked, but I think a good way to like save money, quote unquote, is like release them like once every couple of months. I know Tony was joking about that. Obviously not 12 trailers, 12 months, but like then release them. So you have 4, release them every 3 months. Like release like the Fantastic Four one like in March, the next one in like June, the next one in September, and then like maybe one like right before. But like release them like so you're getting them and you're saving money. So like that's pretty good, right?
I don't know if it'll be relevant to release, because if you do that math, then you're releasing the 4th trailer like in September.
You know what I
of
mean?
next
Like
year.
every
I see what you mean.
2 to 3
but I feel like
months.
but the relevance of those 4 trailers will not be the same 6 months from now, because they would have probably released a full trailer, like a 3-minute long standalone trailer by then, right? So By the way, I do love the idea of Loki being the hero now in RDJS. It's the whole
Low-key,
idea of
I love the idea of Loki being.
I do. I low-key love the idea of Loki the hero. But that is the whole epitome of you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain, or otherwise, I guess. So
Well, technically, Loki did die many times, so
that's
it
also
still
true.
works.
And also, I love the idea that each trailer could show a different incursion from a different universe. But that wouldn't line up with what you're saying, John, because at least 2 of the Avengers teams, or 3 of them potentially, come from our Prime universe. Because then you have the X-Men. So, okay, if you go with your theory, John, and then maybe in combination with what CC Black is saying, let's say trailer 1 next week is a trailer showing one of the teams and maybe some element of an incursion that they've been affected by. What do you think they lead off with? Do they lead off with the Fox X-Men? Do they lead off with the Fantastic Four? Because with the Fantastic Four we just saw months ago, or do they lead off with the new Avengers, aka the Thunderbolts, who we ended Thunderbolts watching in that post-credit sequence? Do they start with the Captain America, the new Sam Wilson Captain America Avengers, the official Avengers, or at least the ones which might have Hawkeye in it and such? Or do we start with a completely different set of characters that we're not expecting? Because those are like the big teams that we are aware of, right? Am I missing anything? Who do you, if that is the case, like if that is how they're going to go approach this, who do you start with? Because you got to lead off with something strong. So what do you think is the best option for next week?
I think it would start it with Avengers, and then everything would, and then I would say like New Avengers, Fantastic Four, and then end it with like Fox X-Men. Because then it would be like that's because the 2 biggest things people care about is the Avengers and X-Men. Those are nobody really cares about the Thunderbolts, and nobody really cares about Fantastic Four. So you leave those as like, okay, because second and third weekends are still probably going to be strong. So it's like, okay, 4th weekend, we really got to bring people back because that's when things start to deplete. So it's like, let's get them back with the X-Men, because the X-Men is the only other team that people really care about.
Yes, I completely hear you. Yes, that's actually a really good way of thinking about it from a business standpoint. You lead off with maybe one of the weaker ones, maybe not the
Hey,
weakest.
Iger, hand me the keys. Maybe I can do a good job.
Like if I were
better than Bob Chapek.
A lot better. I mean, Bob Iger's the man. We're gonna talk about him again when we talk about the Warner Brothers Discovery stuff. But Bob Iger's the man who bought Pixar. Was he the one? No, I don't think he was the one when he bought Pixar. Maybe he was. I'm forgetting if he was around back then as at least as a CEO. But he's the man who bought Marvel. He's the man who bought Lucasfilm. He's got Disney to where it is today. Disney would still be making Pirates of the Caribbean movies as their biggest franchise if it wasn't for Bob Iger. And then bought Fox, obviously. Here's what I'm thinking. You lead off with one of your stronger teams. I think a lot of people have just seen Fantastic Fours, and they've just seen the Thunderbolts, aka the new Avengers. So I think you probably want to lead off with either the X-Men or the other, whatever, the 4th. What's the 4th team? Am I missing anybody? There's the Captain America Avengers team, the Avengers, the old Avengers, whatever you want to call them. Unless they want to do the Champions as their own team. I think you lead off with the Sam Wilson Avengers. And then second week, I would imagine you want to go to the new Avengers, because then you can kind of juxtapose the 2 Avengers teams against each other. Maybe even have like an overlap of like, oh, hello, I didn't know you were starting your own team, Bucky, or something like that. And then the 3rd week, you bring us the Fantastic Four. And like you said, John, week 4, you bring in the X-Men. Because that would be like, yeah, like all of a sudden a lot more people come to the theater, because Avatar movies have legs anyway. We know those movies.
Yeah, of course.
Well.
But even the best movies, they're depleting by that 4th week, a month, because now everyone's like, "Oh, just wait till streaming." So it's like, no, you're gonna come back to the theater because you want to see the fucking X-Men, because you want to see Mystique in that god awful new costume. You're gonna want to see James, I Protect Kitty Diddler's Marsden. You were going to want to see Professor X again. You're going to want to see Wolverine's probably in there. They're going to want to see Wolverine again. They're going to want to see Deadpool again. Boom. So you put that in the 4th week, and boom, watch the people run in. So
was that a Black Eyed Peas reference? Okay, never mind. That was a Black Eyed Peas reference. Well, we know now, according to Hollywood Reporter, their sources suggest there's going to be 4 trailers. We know Daniel Rickman, one of the scoopers, has mentioned there'll be 4 trailers. It looks like they'll be one after the other in consecutive
one
weeks.
trailer after another.
Hey, I see what you did there. Okay. So the dates would end up being the 19th of December, we would get our first Avengers Endgame trailer. Then basically that means what, Christmas Day? Is it when would be Christmas? Christmas is on a Friday, right? So no, the day after Christmas. So the 26th on Kwanzaa, we get the second Avengers Doomsday trailer. Then on the 2nd of January, we get the third Avengers Doomsday trailer. And then the 9th, we get the fourth Avengers Doomsday trailer. These will all potentially be just teasers. We were speculating they're going to be based on the individual teams. You guys let us know what you think will be going down. We know at least the first one that we got the photo for in that article is a minute 27, and I imagine if they're going to make them similar and focus on different characters, they'll all be similar runtimes. And then after that, we probably don't get another trailer till at least the Super Bowl in the US here. So we'll have to see how all that works out. I don't think they're gonna show the new Black Panther and Doomsday CC Black. I think we're gonna still have Letitia Wright's Shuri as our Black Panther, at least until Secret Wars. I don't think we're getting there just yet, or they're not gonna release that in one of the first trailers. The question still is: are any of those trailers gonna end up being online? Knowing Marvel, I have a feeling a few days after they put the trailer in theaters, like on Thursday, you go see the movie and you see the trailer for the first time. I bet you by Sunday that trailer's online because they have no reason to keep it exclusive. It's going to leak anyway. And then the next week's trailer is the next exclusive. So why not put it online and get all the views and have it be all the rage and people like us talking about it for days and days until the next one comes out. So that would be my guess. But speaking of Avengers Doomsday, John, we've got to talk about the Wolverine. It came up already. We know he might be doing this till he's 90, almost literally, but apparently there's a rumor out there that there might be, or there is, a moment, probably part of a fight sequence, or maybe one of those like on your left kind of moments where we'll see the Wolverine, and that might elicit a bigger reaction from the folks in the theaters than we got even in Avengers Endgame, and Civil War, like all these other huge moments that we've got in the MCU before. Can you walk us through what this is talking about? Because there's an implication here we might be getting more than one Wolverine potentially in the movie.
Yeah, so Alex Perez is from the Cosmic Circus, who's
huge grain of salt, but
yes,
yeah.
But he said in a tweet that Hugh Jackman teasing his return as Wolverine, and he's like, something ain't right, or the fuck that means. He then replied to his own tweet, "This will make sense in 1 year's time, FYI," seemingly teasing he was referring to Avengers Doomsday, which comes out next year. A fan responded to the post stating that Perez's comment meant Wolverine would be dead, to which he said, "Au contraire, mon ami," which possibly is a reference to Gambit. Another fan asked him to elaborate. The scooper did so, teasing that Logan would have a moment in the film that would elicit a fan reaction that would rival those elicited by the likes of aforementioned Endgame and Spider-Man No Way Home. If you take the loudest crowd reactions from Infinity War, Endgame, No Way Home, Deadpool, and Wolverine and put them in an IMAX theater together, combined, their screams won't reach the level of reactions and screams that the moment I'm referencing might get. So,
okay. So this will be a bigger moment than any of those iconic moments, is what they're saying.
And he's saying he's passing the torch? No. He's taking that shit, running with it, and bringing someone for the ride, which is most likely going to be X-23. So,
okay,
yeah.
So John, then maybe what we're gonna get is a on your left, bub, and then you hear X-23 say "and right," and all of a sudden they come in and I don't know, just
that would be the dumbest fucking thing. I would boo if they did that.
Or like on your left, bub. Ooh, we're about to make a name for ourselves here.
Like, what's the most iconic? You know what would be interesting? I think I just thought of, even though this is a Professor X catchphrase, but the fact that Wolverine said this, "I'm not just an X-Man, I'm the X-Man," embracing his role of being an X-Man, blah, 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 blah. You know what would be a really good reaction? This would, I think, get a real big reaction if he said, if maybe Professor X was there and he's like, "Logan, why don't you do the honors?" And then he says, "To me, my X-Men." Ah! Everybody goes crazy. That would be that would elicit the
that would be a lot of nerdgasms. Yeah,
yes.
There'd be a lot of nerdgasms in theaters. Just jizz everywhere.
If you know, Because that would actually be good. Instead of if I would hate for them to do like a fucking MCU quippy bullshit. Like, don't fucking do that. Don't designate Wolverine to that level of shit. Just like actually like have like a real like moment of like, to me, my X-Men, because we've never gotten that on the big screen ever. So like, you know.
No, that's true, but do you think they might save that for like a whole phase of X-Men movies or whatever? Because I mean, they don't want to use it all up now.
They gotta do it in Doomsday, because then once the X-Men movies come out, nobody's gonna give a fuck about that anymore. So like, you gotta do it for Doomsday, like that. You gotta, you know, you gotta get the excitement there.
Just some geeky guy would completely splooge everywhere in their own words.
Most comic fans would, but I could also see Hugh Jackman, because that almost happened in the first Spider-Man movie. Wolverine was supposed to have a cameo, but they couldn't find the suit, so it didn't happen.
You know, Kevin Feige will know about that though, because like, and he's a nerd, like in that way. He might want to make that happen.
You know, that could be the case. I could see that happening, but maybe not. You know, they I think Wolverine saying, "To me, my X-Men," that's my theory. Is
but like he's never taken ownership of the X-Men. Like he's never been like, that's my team. He's always like the outsider.
He's never been that. However, considering what he said in Deadpool and Wolverine, embracing his role as an X-Man, as part of the X-Men, which so this would be the same has never really done before. But the fact that he embraced his role previously, like, I'm part of this team, I'm the X-Man. He's the most popular one, and
he's also he's the Nexus being
X,
right. Yeah.
So if you have Professor X being like, Logan, why don't you do the honors? And then he says, "To me, my X-Men." That would be pretty baller. Not gonna lie.
I wouldn't be surprised if Marvel found a way to make that happen, and that definitely would have a bigger reaction than everything else we have talked about. Thomas James cameo in Spider-Man. Well. Look, we don't even know Tobey Maguire is going to be in this movie, but I would have loved to see Tobey Maguire show up next to Wolverine, pay that off, as well as the X-Men. Yeah, okay. So that could be this, or not, but take this with a grain of salt right now. This is a rumor, but then again, a lot of these... Look, for example, we had that trailer description for Supergirl the other day, and that seemed to be pretty on the money with what we got yesterday. So... some of these folks know what they're talking about because they got their sources, and we'll have to wait and find out. Probably not for very long. So, yeah. Oh, you're muted.
The shit poster of this channel is saying, "I would shed a tear if Wolverine said, 'To me, my X-Men.'" That's what I'm saying. Because I was like, when you were talking, like, what would be the thing that would get people to scream that loud? And I'm like, oh shit, the thing that's never been said in an X-Men movie. Boom. There we go. Perfect.
I wouldn't mind it.
I would like to see that too. I think that would be funny.
It's worse than we thought somehow. RDJ return. I would love to see that. That would genuinely be hilarious. I would love to see that. If they put that in like the X-Men Doomsday trailer, that would be pretty great. That would be pretty baller, not gonna lie. That would be pretty. Also, you know what? I don't know if they're gonna ever do a Captain America and Wolverine in World War II.
I know they're trying to do a game with Captain America and Black Panther, but it got delayed or canceled or something.
I think it's still, you might be right. We heard about that a few months ago. But what I was getting at is, I don't know if you're gonna see Captain America and Wolverine fighting in World War II, but I would not be surprised if Steve Rogers says, meet one of my old friends, and all of a sudden we see Wolverine walk up, and now he's like, in continuity existed in the MCU's past, we just didn't know about it. Something like that, and part of the reboot.
That would be pretty awesome.
Yeah, that would be pretty awesome, because then everybody was gonna want to see a young, an World War II epic with Captain America, Steve Rogers, Captain America fighting alongside Wolverine. How they make that work, I don't know. Like, they're walking into that if they do it, but still, would love to see it. Okay. Let's keep on going. We got a few more Marvel stories to talk about before we wrap up MC Weekly.
Yes,
or do we? Yes, we do.
Speaking of Deadpool and Wolverine,
dude, I don't know if we talked about this. This is like in case you missed it, because this is not like recent news. But walk us through this. I was shocked.
So apparently, the budget of this of Deadpool and Wolverine might have been like approximately $500 million, where it's like maybe that 1 billion didn't do shit, guys. So
Apparently this is based on the idea that they pulled up the documents that are publicly available for tax rebates in the UK, because the movie shot a lot of their sequences in the UK, and that was for 10% of the budget. So people then reversed the math and figured out the budget, and then you add on the marketing budget and everything, and it looks like they spent like more than $500 million in just potentially making the movie, and then on top of that, marketing it. And of course, there's the numbers were in pounds, so they converted them to US dollars. Pounds are actually have a higher value, so you take that number of 336 million, and that becomes like 429 million US dollars. I'm not surprised in the sense that this was happening around the time that the strikes were going down, and that stopped production. So when any movie got halted, during the Hollywood strikes a few years ago, you're still paying people for a lot of this that time, because otherwise you don't want to lose them, and then you have to reschedule and schedule additional shooting days. Not to mention you have standing sets have to stay standing for a lot longer. That costs money. So a lot of movies from that time, especially like the bigger the movie, the more expensive it got over that time. That's why like the Dead Reckoning was as expensive as it was. That was another movie that cost like $500 million because they shot it during the strikes, or like before and after the strikes. It also was affected by the pandemic, and even like the latest Mission Impossible was affected by the strikes. So the last one, the Final Reckoning. So I'm not surprised that based on the other outside circumstances, it's still just mind-boggling to think that the movie was as expensive as it was, because that means they probably didn't make more than a couple $100 million in a profit at a time that this movie made $1.3 billion. So I don't know. They were profitable though. Like it could have been a lot worse. Like this could have been a situation like the Joker for All You Do, which barely made anything. So you guys let us know, what do you think? Because if you enjoyed the movie, it's not your wallet that's hurting, right? So like you paid for the movie, you went and watched it. You can watch it on Disney Plus now. So that's not anything to worry about. I was just kind of like mind blown for a moment there, thinking about like, wow, they spent that much money on this. Well, if they spend that much money on Deadpool and Wolverine, then I can easily imagine. We know based on just what they spent on Avengers Endgame, which had like the most expensive marketing campaign of all time, with like $300 some odd million. These next couple of Avengers movies, Disney's going to end up spending well over $1 billion combined in production budgets alone, as well as, once you add the marketing budget, you might be looking at like $1.5 billion potentially. This is just an estimate based on what we have seen before. But for Disney, if these two Avengers movies make them $3 billion or more, then that $1.5 billion roughly investment is going to pretty much pay itself back and then some. So, in that case, they're doing good math. It's just one of those situations where you just hope that Doomsday and Secret Wars don't end up flopping on their face, which is unlikely. They'd really have to suck really, really bad for that to happen. But nonetheless, it's just it's partly surprising. Also not surprising considering that this was, Deadpool and Wolverine was shot and worked on during those strikes and before and after, so they had to stop production, and that drove costs up. But even then, like that's a big number. Like spending $500 million or roughly that just making the movie, and then spending more money on top of that marketing it. John, I just wanted to kind of highlight that because it in the context of what they're doing with the two Avengers movies, those movies might cost even more. And that's not accounting for like production stops and everything. So Disney's got money to splash, but it's a high risk, high reward kind of a situation. But hey, speaking of high risk, high reward, apparently the showrunner of Daredevil season 1, John, was lamenting the idea that they just didn't have the budget to do what they wanted to do, that they had PG-16 restrictions. And that's the version of Daredevil people still love compared to the Disney Plus version. But apparently Stephen S. DeKnight thinks that, well, the new Daredevil Born Again show, they just, they can kind of go out and do whatever the hell they want because they're rated R. They don't have to worry about those restrictions, and they've got the budget. Can you walk us through what he said and what are your thoughts on him saying he'd wish he had all those things that Daredevil Born Again has?
So DeKnight opened up on the restrictions he faced while making the series, including a limited budget and what he described as PG-16 handcuffs. I have really liked Daredevil Born Again. Look, I admit I'm completely biased because I love the actors. I mean, Charlie Cox is one of the purest, sweetest human beings in the world. yeah, we kind of gathered that. And Vincent D'Onofrio the same way. I mean, those guys, I took a bullet for those guys. I love the fact that Daredevil was being resurrected and resurrected with a bigger budget than we had. That's for damn sure. Let me tell you. I remember when Daredevil was in She-Hulk, and he was doing a lot of acrobatics. And people were saying, well, what do you think about those acrobatics? And I told them, hey, if I had the money, that's exactly what we would have. We didn't have the money to do that. Pushed on what he changed about Daredevil. I wanted to be more R-rated. They were able to go there, whereas I had the PG-16 handcuffs on, where I could only go so far. And as you can see from Spartacus House of Asher, which I think he's a showrunner of, I like to go pretty far. So I really appreciated that Marvel and Disney Plus was willing to go there. That honestly surprised me and delighted me. But here's the thing. Fucking season 1 of Born Again sucked. So it just goes to show that limited budget and the PG-16 handcuffs warranted a better season of television, because still to this day, people say Daredevil season 1 is still probably one of, if not the best thing that Marvel has ever produced. So, maybe having those restrictions helped. Those PG-16 handcuffs helped, because you were actually able to focus on the writing, the storytelling of these characters, and we got more intrigue. And you know what? Maybe that's better. That's just my opinion.
I haven't been a big fan of Daredevil, like, in general, so I can't really add to that. But I agree with what you're saying, because a lot of times, people can do a lot. Yeah.
Had restrictions all his career, and is still one of the greatest, considered one of the greatest of all time.
Like, creativity sometimes works best when it's put inside a box and told to, like, figure out a way, to make the most of it. That's why I miss the days when we still had 22 episode seasons of shows, and you could have bottle episodes, and some of those bottle episodes were some of the best episodes. Like, I'm not saying they were great. Sometimes they were not good, but sometimes the writers did their best work when they were low on budget because they blew a lot of money in the mid-season finale, and now they had to make the rest of the money last till the season finale, where they had to save a lot of the big bucks for the whatever needed to happen in the season finale. But they still have 8 more episodes to produce, so you do what you can with what you have, and sometimes that results in the best storytelling. So yeah, I look 22. Yeah, you could say that, Tony. Like, 22 episodes for a lot of shows used to end up with, like, half a dozen filler episodes. So I do agree that maybe 15 episodes is a more ideal number. That's kind of like where the Pitt lives right now on HBO. There's a lot of the recent Star Trek shows have been doing that, so that way they don't have a lot of episodes that feel like filler. But even then, all I'm saying is sometimes, like, having those restrictions, like you said, John, do end up giving you they force you to, like, think of new solutions, creative solutions. Like Caleb is saying, honestly, restrictions allow directors to be more creative than to be able to do everything that could be a disaster, aka Joker 2, Joker Follow You Do. Because when you give them Cate Blanchett with the budget, it doesn't always end up working out well. All you gotta do is watch 22 Jump Street to literally learn that lesson through an allegory. So with that, John, let's keep on going. We've got one more.
MCU rumor roundup: Fantastic Four, post Secret Wars future, Black Knight's return, Jesus Christ, Doctor Doom, and more. Wow, Black Knight. Whoa. Today we have new intel.
That's foreshadowing for Fancast Friday, by the way.
Maybe
you'll get that.
We have new intel from the Cosmic Circus's Alex Perez, who has shared updates on the Fantastic Four, Defenders, Midnight Suns, and more. So Perez has some very intriguing intel on what they plan to do for the first family, trying to adapt to their new reality and also raising their family. As for how the future of Federation will factor into the present day MCU, the Scooper has heard that it will be a cover for Reed Richards to continue exploring the multiverse. With any luck, that means the Council Reeds is on the horizon. Technically, you can't steal what's yours to begin with. So Perez was also about whether Dr. Doom stole Franklin Richards and the Fantastic Four ship, connecting the Fantastic Four first steps and Thunderbolts. Technically, you can't steal what's yours to begin with. So that's definitely interesting. So it's definitely like Lando Calrissian, like, piloting the Millennium Falcon in Return of the Jedi. So it's like, that's interesting.
Also, I was going to say, a lot of people speculated that, and not just speculated, if you really do a straight comparison, the ship design for what we see at the end of Thunderbolts is not quite exactly the ship that we get in Fantastic Four. It's similar enough, but there's speculation based on just the photo comparisons. We don't get as good of a look at that in Thunderbolts as we do in Fantastic Four, so it could just be that we're seeing the ship, from different angles than we do in Fantastic Four. But it could also be that it's not the same universe, like that this Doctor Doom does. But then again, when you look at the end of the Fantastic Four, the end credits scene, you have Doom there, but that Doom could still be from a different world too. Like we have had speculation about if that Doom was even the Doom from their world or different world. Like there's many different ways you can go, but yes, I definitely got that Lando Calrissian vibe that it's Han kind of just it wasn't Han Solo's to begin with. So, the Millennium Falcon.
So in all of this, then we're getting minor nods into Born Again Season 2 to Luke Cage and Iron Fist. There being no plans to include Eddie Brock in Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man Season 2, which is, I guess that was a rumor. And Marvel Television's hopes to develop more Marvel Zombies. Then Kit Harington said in 2023 when he was asked about becoming the MCU's Black Knight, I think there was some misunderstanding about whether he was going to be in the Blade movie. He was never meant to be in the Blade movie because there were rumors about that Black Knight was going to either be the villain or team up with Blade, and like that was going to be part of the Blade movie, and then essentially saying no, that was never the case. A lot might have changed since then, but when asked where he could return, Harrington responded, at this stage, I don't know. I hope he gets used. So, that's something maybe. I mean, because I think everybody was really hankering for an appearance of the Black Knight. Said no one.
I think a lot of people forgot that Kit Harington and Black Knight, the character he played in Eternals, ever happened, because I think a lot of people forgot that Eternals even existed. There's probably a lot of folks out there who just remembered, when they mentioned that in the Captain America 4, that, oh yes, that elephant in the room. Oh right, there is a Celestial in the ocean, in the Pacific Ocean, right? Because I think Kevin Feige might have forgotten about it for a few years too. So I'm not surprised that Black Knight. I don't know if the Black Knight is ever gonna be in anything again, unless they do actually make Midnight Suns. The most interesting thing in all of this was the thing about the Council of Reeds, because we have all thought about after the Secret Wars, the multiverse is dead, and there's gonna just meld it all into just one single timeline, and bye bye multiverse shenanigans, and now we just move forward. But apparently the multiverse ride ain't over yet after Secret Wars, apparently, John, because Reed Richards might be using the Future Foundation as a front for exploring the multiverse, even after Secret Wars. Do you believe that? Do you think that's even a possibility? Why? Because, Kevin Feige has hinted at the idea that the multiverse might just stick around. That's here to stay. He said that at I think it was at the Comic-Con where they did the RDJ reveal.
Well, here's the thing, you can't say that any longer because they addressed the Celestial in the ocean in Captain America 4. So that doesn't mean shit.
Yeah.
But anyway. Yeah, I just think I could see a couple of these coming true, but it's also coming from a myriad of different sources, and who knows if this, it's obviously it's been, if Jessica Jones is coming back in, season 2 of Born Again, then obviously there's going to be nods to Luke Cage at the very least, and maybe Iron Fist. So there's that, and it seems to be that is most likely the case. And so that makes sense. And then you have some Black Knight stuff, but who really cares about that? And then of course what Fantastic Four is going to set up. I could see that happening. I know people want to see the Council of Reeds, so there's that as well. But it's a whole myriad of ideas on where this could go, and this isn't clear cut. This is just rumor mill. So yeah, I'm curious to what actually the plan is, but I'm not going to ride or die with this idea.
Yeah, I like what you're saying in the sense that the biggest thing here is these are rumors. These are reports, rumors. Sometimes they're on the mark, sometimes they're not. So take it with a grain of salt. But it is interesting. Some of these ideas are very interesting. I wouldn't mind getting to a Council of Reeds, and even if that, I guess the only way to do that is through the multiverse. I wonder if that means somehow John Krasinski's Mr. Fantastic comes back, has returned or something. I don't know. But this might be a moot point because if it's not true, then why bother really putting many more time talking about it? We'll just have to wait and see what happens in these two Avengers movies, and then we'll have a better idea of where the MCU is even going moving forward. So, yeah. Well, is that it? I think the ride is over for the MCU weekly part of the show, because now we're gonna move on to the next thing. What are we getting on to next here?
It's Movie Talk Madness. Couple trailers, couple leaked things. But one leaked, one not. But the first thing that we're to be talking about at the Game Awards, we did get a look at the new Street Fighter movie. So we got kind of like a trailer sneak peek clip. Like it was kind of a trailer, not really, sort of, yeah. But we got character posters, we got a sneak peek, and we got like a whole bunch of stuff. And so we're gonna be talking about that for a little bit. So it's we got some stuff. We got Andrew Koji. We got Noah as
Noah Centineo,
Ryu.
yeah.
Noah Centineo as Ken. We got Kalina Liang as Chun-Li. We got Cody Rhodes. There's your boy as Guile. Like,
dude,
they gave him the haircut.
Yes, they did.
Yes.
I love it. I do like it. Also, I loved. Okay, we're gonna get to the trailer part later, but like I did like his part of the trailer. I hit the shots that we got. With
then we have Orville Peck as Vega. We have 50 Cent, professional P Diddy hater, as Balrog.
Dude, did you see that? There's all these petty. I ran across this reel the other day on YouTube, and these are all the petty moments where 50 Cent is the happiest man in the world for like putting Diddy, all that stuff about Diddy in that documentary, and they keep asking him, "What is your source?" And he's like, "I'm not gonna. Do you guys reveal your sources? I'm not giving you guys my sources." And just comments are full of 50 Cent is always watching. Just whatever you're doing, just know 50 Cent was there to collect those receipts. So he's gonna have a good year. So it's great.
Then you have Jason Momoa as Blanca. This dude is like killing it. 2 different franchises. Way to go, man. Then we have Vidya Jamwal. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Vidya Jamwal, yeah.
He's Dalsim, and then you have
Sorry, go ahead.
Richter's as Zangief.
Olivia Richter. He was in Reacher, right? He's like one of the biggest dudes in the world.
Yeah, that guy.
That's the guy. That's the big dude that almost beat up Reacher. Yeah.
And then
hold on, Justin Geeky guy. That's for quick hits. We're gonna get to
Honda. So Hiroki Goto, I think that's how you pronounce it, as E Honda, and then Roman Reigns. There you go. There's your boy.
There he is.
As Akuma.
There he is.
Then the weirdest fucking casting choice as Dan Hibiki is Andrew fucking Schultz, which, like,
you know what? In the trailer it kind of works. That's all.
That's what I'm saying. And then you have Eric Andre as Don Sauvage. Like, that's just that. Like, you see him for like half a second in the trailer. Like, yeah, this is gonna be fun. And then you have Mel Jarnson as Cammy. Raina Vallandingham is Julie, and then Alexander Volkanovsky is Joe. And yeah, that's everyone. And they did release a sneak peek. And the thing is, I was like kind of iffy on this. I was like, Mortal Kombat, they're kind of doing a balance of like campy and like serious, and it works. They are going full into ridiculous, ball-brained, cockamamie, cheeseball camp fest.
It's so good.
I am fucking here for like this. Straight up, yes. I was skeptical, and now I'm excited. Like this one trailer, like they are going full cheeseball with this. Like they are going full. They're going further 90s than the 90s movie did. And honestly,
and you know what? In the best way possible.
In the best way possible. It
looks good.
This looks so fucking crazy. It's just like, it's crazy. It's ridiculous. They have some, like, it does have weirder ones, like, Noah Centineo and, Andrew Schultz. But then you have like Andrew Koji as Ryu. That's That's just fucking amazing. Like Andrew Koji,
I
that
can't
dude
wait.
is so talented.
I can't wait for Andrew Koji to finally have a movie that actually makes money, and then he actually can get even bigger roles from it. Because that man has had some bad, like he does a great job with everything he's given. He's just his agency or what, like his representation has made some bad choices. So, yeah, but love the Street Fighter cast calling.
I could have seen who I could have seen as Ryu, Lewis. The guy who plays Cole Young. I understand he sucks as Cole Young, and Cole Young sucks. I get it, but like honestly, that dude Lewis Tang, I think his name is, or I think he could have been good. It's just I feel like he deserves better, a better direction and all that, because he's a good act. Like he was good in like Cobra Kai. He was great in Daredevil. He was great in all this other stuff. But it's just like he was kind of given the short end of the stick in that franchise because, like, oh, you're playing an original character nobody gives a fuck about. Go. And he's kind of trapped in that. But, you know, this is, I know, I just don't. Hold on. Let me. Actor. Lewis Tan. Lewis Tan. That's his name. He's a good actor. He's a fucking amazing fighter. But yes, Cole Young sucks. I get it.
Different franchise,
However,
but like,
Lewis, don't blame the actor. Like, it's not his fault that the fucking character sucks. Like, you know, just saying. Just saying.
I think we're gonna get like an amazing movie at this point. This. I'm gonna say it right now. This is my prediction. Mortal Kombat 2 looks like an improvement on the first one. Yeah. But Street Fighter will feel like the better movie because Street Fighter has the potential to be the Minecraft of 2026. It's going to be a
hopefully
dumb,
no chicken
fun movie. Sure. No chicken jockey. I don't think there's anything else that can have a chicken jockey. But I can't wait for Street Fighter to be such dumb, good fun that it actually somehow ends up making like $800 to $1 million to $1 billion. Because it just looks gloriously, you know, amazing fun. I will say this though, we've seen plenty of good trailers to bad movies. When the first full trailer came out for the previous Mortal Kombat movie a couple of years ago, I was like, okay, he just killed the man with an ice, like he froze his, what was it, like he froze into an icicle and then kills him with his own thing. It was like, okay, there's some really cool video game moments in the trailer, and the movie itself, like the story is so bad that it's just like the movie gets dragged down by it, and the fact that they made Cole Young the main the character, the whole protagonist. I just feel like with Street Fighter, at least right now, it looks really good. But who knows? The movie might really not be good because these moments only make up a couple of minutes of the movie, literally based on the runtime. But yeah, you know what? You're right. Suicide Squad had a pretty damn good trailer.
I was in another. I was in a Discord server, and somebody posted a screen cap of Chun-Li choking the chick against the wall, and they're like, "Me next, please." So you already have the horny assholes.
There's some like, BDSM fetishes going on in there, so you know they know their audience.
It started as a joke. Yes, Caleb, it did start as a joke. Insert BG's reference. Insert here. There you go. Beautiful. Okay. Now I don't think I've played Mortal Kombat. I have played a little bit of the original Street Fighter 2. And it's a good game. I suck at it because I'm not good at old video games, but like, you know, it's still fun. And this looks like a lot of fun. I mean, I understand like Raul Julia will forever be the best M. Bison, and David Dastmalchian is not going to even reach heights that level because, you know, he's not him and all that. But even then, I still think that this is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. I totally just see everything you just said. I couldn't be more excited. I thought this might look disastrous considering the casting choices. But then again, this goes to show you they knew what they were doing because this is what they had in mind, and now they've realized a lot of this, and it looks fun. It looks colorful. It looks wild. It looks like a fun time at the movies.
I love, but it's just I find it to be so funny. It just goes to show that some audience members like don't really know what they want because they're like, oh, we want, we want full on like cheesy and campy. We're ready for it. And then they produce something like this, and then they're unhappy. They're like, oh, why does Guile look like an idiot? Because he looked like an idiot in the fucking game. That's the whole point. Like, it's cheesy. And then people get mad, and then they're like, and then when you do something the complete opposite, they're like, oh, that's too like dark and edgy. And it's just like, what the fuck do you people want? It's like you complain that it's cheesy, and you complain that it's too dark. It's like, and then you could even complain when it's something in the middle, like Mortal Kombat. So it's just like, what the fuck do you people want? Like, goddamn. Anyway,
Look, that's the thing about creativity and art. It's such a narrow line that you gotta walk, and it's hard to dial that in, especially for these big movies where you're spending hundreds of millions of dollars making it and marketing it. So it's not easy to make movies. We all know that, and I think trailers like this goes to show you that it's hard to strike that balance. We could have easily just been looking at this and it looks cheesy bad, but it looks cheesy good, like, and that's a very fine line. So again, the trailer could be amazing, the movie could be terrible, but we'll have to wait and see. The trailer itself did the job, though. For the first, I'll be honest. Like, here's the thing: the Supergirl trailer, I give it an 8 out of 10. This is a 10 out of a 10 trailer. Like this, this to me is the superior trailer.
I'm more
like, it's the superior trailer.
Like, straight up.
Like, and it's just, and that's not
like, this is great.
Yeah,
I'm stoked.
Like, don't get us wrong, it's not a slight on Supergirl trailer. I just think Supergirl might still be the better movie overall, but it's just the trailer for this was amazing. Street Fighter, let's go. And then I love it ends with you win. I'm like, okay, all right. Like Tony was saying, the guys who are making this movie are clearly fans of Street Fighter. They know what they're talking about. Oh, we'll get to the lantern stuff.
We'll get to
however little we got to that.
But let's now, before Dan holds in his jizz any longer, we got to talk about Sir President Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey getting leaked online. So Dan, why don't you take the reins of this, since you're the bigger, I mean, I'm a Nolan fan, but you make me look like a chump in terms of your Nolan love. So you go ahead.
That's Sir President Christopher Nolan to you. But anyway, okay, so you guys know that they were gonna put the prologue. I think it was like meant to be like a 6-minute prologue. That's what it is. It's meant to play ahead of the one battle after another. And what was the other movie?
Sinners. Both Sinners getting re-released.
Both of them getting IMAX re-releases in 70mm IMAX. And so in those limited, like, I think there's like a dozen of them in the entire United States and a couple dozen in the whole world. So there's not many of them. Not many people are able to see it. But the people that did go see it before the movie started, that they went to see, they got a chance to watch a 6-minute prologue to The Odyssey, which is meant to be a theatrical exclusive. But of course, we live in the world of the internet that Christopher Nolan doesn't really understand or realize, because here we are. The description is online. I mean, there are like bootleg versions of this that people shot on their iPhones that are online that have been taken down. So obviously, Universal is doing their best to keep that off the internet. The internet, never forgets. So I get that they want this to be a theatrical exclusive. I would have appreciated if this was a theatrical exclusive for like a few thousand theaters, not just like a couple of dozen 70mm IMAX theaters. But Sir President Christopher Nolan, and he's got Universal by the balls. So there you go. But with that said, people have obviously leaked the description of the trailer on the prologue online, and it addresses events from the book, the Iliad, which is basically the prequel in a sense. It's the previous book in the Homer, because Homer's Odyssey, basically the events of the Homer's Odyssey take place after the events of Iliad, which were adapted in the movie Troy that Brad Pitt was a part of back in the day and stuff. So where the Trojan horse is brought in and the Greeks, soldiers can jump out, and that's where the Trojan. You guys know what I'm talking about. It's literally a tale as old as time. Apparently, in the beginning of the movie, they kind of go over some of that, and that's in the prologue, and it sets the stage for everything else that happens after. And the prologue concludes with like a big full-scale battle about to start. You get to hear John Bernthal's character, Spartan King Menelaus at the very beginning, asking Telemachus, who's played by Tom Holland, the son of Matt Damon's character Odysseus. So they're talking about like, no, do you know the story of the horse, aka the Trojan horse? We get to see the Trojan horse a little bit, and you could see that it's just building up to something big. And you see the practical creative creature design. I'm not going to describe it in any more detail, but you guys are welcome to find the description. It's online. It's on your screen right now. And, well, it looks pretty, it sounds pretty epic. I don't know if it looks pretty epic, but again, given that it's Christopher Nolan, I bet it does look pretty epic. John, what do you think about the description here? Are you surprised that this leaked online? And
no, of course not.
Like, do you think this will convince them to put the prologue online, or they're still only going to give us the trailer that comes in next week before Avatar? Because we know we're getting the Avengers Doomsday trailer, but also they're going to play the Odyssey, a full trailer, probably around 3 minutes, so not quite the 6-minute prologue. But we're going to get like all these trailers next week. What do you think? Do you think this they'll put that online?
I think so. I think so. Because it's just like, I feel like they would be stupid not to at this point. Everything's getting released now. So it's like, fuck it, let's go. Let's release this. It's leaked already. It just depends. It's just like, I could just see it being like, oh, Mr. Nolan, the trailer got got leaked, and he's like, the fuck you mean it got leaked? And then he like murders everybody in the room, and then he's like, fine, release the trailer, fine, we'll release it. And then he releases it, but then he like murders 15 more people, and then he's like, just while screaming cinema over and over again, which he has every right to do, but like,
I can just imagine he's picketing outside like the Warner Brothers fence with the picketing sign, cinema. Like if like Netflix actually ends up by anyway. That's
I wouldn't be surprised if like just
time.
like in their meeting that Sir President Christopher Nolan is having with Ted Sarandos, he just starts like fucking strangling him, just as like fucking not even go with those shorter windows, motherfucker, and just like
yeah, he orders the MI6 hit squad. Okay.
Yeah, he gets Gary Oldman in here, gets Jack Lowden in here, and just gets them to just.
And then Paul Dano gets. Okay, thank you, Caleb. Yeah, I would love to see
him,
that.
Owen
happen.
Wilson, and Matthew Lillard. They all rub their feet on Quentin Tarantino, and he starts screaming because he hates male feet. He only likes female feet. So he's like, ah!
We don't need that. We don't need that detail. But anyway. I will say though, that of the people who did get a chance, the few people that saw this prologue, they did have some reviews. I think Forbes had a headline talking about the prologue being called generational, declared jaw-dropping. Are you surprised by these descriptions that this looks as good as it does?
Nolan, of course not. Come on now, ridiculous.
I did also see some people were complaining how this connects to Troy. I think there was an article in, what was that? Was that Screen Rant? I think it had something, or Movie Web. Let's go to that article, because apparently there are some idiots out there who, don't really know their, Homer. So if you scroll down in this article, there's like a pretty funny complaint about this movie, even, well, like almost a year before it even comes out. Where was it? Dan Rooster, the Spurs, saying a message to all the clueless idiots who have the nerve to say it's a remake of Troy, idiots. Homer's Iliad, on which the movie Troy was based, is the prequel to Homer's Odyssey. Nolan connects them. Illiterate morons, just stay in your caves and don't come out. A little over the top, but like, yes.
No. These idiots need to be fucking called that because they're stupid. They're stupid.
They're not the same thing. They're two different books.
Which is funny considering that, we were talking about how Nolan was supposed to direct Troy when Wolfgang Peterson was going to direct the Batman versus Superman movie that never happened. And so then he went back to Troy. He's like, okay, this is my baby. Nolan, get the fuck out of here. He's like, okay, I'm going to just have the greatest filmography of like the 21st century. I'll leave. Okay, Wolfgang Peterson. So,
Okay. I will say later in this article they talk about there was potentially another adaptation at a different studio for the Odyssey a number of years ago that never quite came together. I forget, if you scroll down a little bit, there is, I think it was was it not Legendary? It was Lionsgate might have had a movie in the works about that was going to adapt the Odyssey that never quite came together. Or is it here or somewhere else? But anyway, I forget where that was, but this isn't the first time somebody has tried to. Obviously, Christopher Nolan is the first one who's gonna be bringing this to the big screen, and yeah, like Monique is saying, this is these stories are thousands of years old, so there shouldn't be any spoilers about it. But the way Christopher Nolan tells this story, that might
I've seen it. It's
involve a
pretty
bit of
good.
spoilers.
It's pretty good.
So, yeah. But, hey, it's Sir President Christopher Nolan, and he certainly knows how to make something epic and for the big screen. And this looks like it's going to be the biggest epic of all epics of all time. So we can't wait to see it. It's going to be one of the biggest movies next year. John, I think this movie makes $1 billion. Like, Nolan hasn't had one of those since the Dark Knight trilogy. Oppenheimer came closest, but do you feel like this one has basically the most surefire chance of becoming the next $1 billion movie, the third $1 billion movie in Christopher Nolan's career?
Yes.
Cool.
I'll leave it at that.
I can't argue with that.
I'm gonna go with it. I'm just gonna say, you know what? Fuck it. Yes.
I forget what the movie schedule looks like around this one. I bet you there's other big movies coming out that will probably eat some
Brand New
lunch.
Day is coming out a couple weeks.
Yeah, that's right.
Because remember, we're having a Holland off.
That's right.
Tom Holland.
I mean, we're also gonna have a Momoa
be in a
off.
successful movie that isn't Spider-Man.
But we're actually also gonna have a Momoa off, which we'll get to in a little bit. But we kind of skipped this earlier, so let's go back to it before we get to the quick hits. I did want to mention there are some updates. They're not that significant, but I mean significant. That's a relative term. I wanted to mention what's been going on. Give you guys an update on what's been going on with the Warner Brothers Discovery bidding war. Of course, Bob Iger has just weighed in about his concerns over Netflix's pricing leverage over the consumer if streamer acquires, the Warner Brothers Discovery streaming and studio assets. Basically, he's saying that the amount of power Netflix would have over consumers because of all the IP they would control would be pretty significant. Like they would have they already have more subscribers than Disney Plus, way more, and then it would only probably grow because you would probably see HBO Max eventually merge into Netflix, even though HBO would stay separate probably as its own entity. Kind of like FX makes a lot of prestige TV for Disney Plus now and Hulu, which is now one thing, but HBO won't die, but like the Max streaming service will probably become part of Netflix, and then so they'll have merged all their subscribers. So yeah, I get what he's saying. I mean, Bob Iger, of course, is no stranger to buying and selling and being a deal maker in Hollywood. Like he bought all the 21st century assets. He bought Marvel and Lucasfilm. I mean, he's gotten Disney to where it is today in large part. Like he's responsible for the Disney that we know as with the biggest presence in all of entertainment today, despite the fact that they may not have as many subscribers as Netflix. There was a time when they were like the only movie studio that had like $6 billion movies a year for like 5 years in the 2010s. So Iger knows a thing or two about this. But that being said, John, let's move on to the next thing here, which is a research article that I saw in NCS. And Newscast Studio is a website that they usually take these kind of research studies and take them and turn them into good analysis. And this one here is mentioning that YouTube TV is projected to lead the US pay TV market by 2027. If you could scroll down here, John, this kind of plays into the biggest point of contention between Paramount and Netflix and Warner Brothers in terms of how they value the company, Warner Brothers Discovery, because Paramount seems to think that the TV networks are really not that worth that much that Warner Brothers has, whereas Netflix's offer seems to imply that Warner Brothers Discovery's TV networks are worth more, and so that's where the two offers sort of differentiate. And until they can figure out a middle ground, I don't think Paramount is going to be able to get whatever offer they put out on the table across the line, and that's why Warner Brothers Discovery chose Netflix to begin with. That being said, YouTube TV, which is part of course, Google as a whole, and of course, YouTube, you're watching this on YouTube, unless you're watching this on Facebook or X or Twitch. But if you are watching us on YouTube, then YouTube is like the biggest video platform in the world. They've got like 3 billion people who are literally that's almost half the world's population is on YouTube. That's how many people have accounts on YouTube. they're huge, but YouTube TV in the US is now set to become, in a couple of years' time, the biggest pay TV operator. Basically, what they refer to as what their cable companies get referred to as. Like Comcast is a pay TV operator, Charter is a pay TV operator. Currently, Comcast and Charter are the biggest ones. Charter has, by the end of 2025, they're estimated to have 11.4 million pay TV subscribers. Comcast with 10.6, and then YouTube TV in third, the only virtual pay TV provider in the top three, because the other two, they're not virtual because they give you a cable box. So it's, whereas YouTube TV, you need internet to have YouTube TV. They have 9.3 million, but that order seems to be flipping in a couple of years' time, where they expect YouTube TV to climb up to having 9.2 million, or 9.3, or what was the number? Actually, it's kind of covered here, John, if you scroll up. By 2027, they're actually scroll down. Sorry, they're expecting YouTube TV to have the number one spot. And it's going to be like over 10 million for them. And then Charter will have the second most. And then Comcast will end up having the third most, which right now they're sitting in second. So basically, YouTube TV will end up being bigger than Comcast and Charter. And they've been on that trajectory for a while. So you could say YouTube TV in a lot of ways is monopolistic in a sense. And that's the argument, that Netflix is going to make when they try to get their merger across the line. Because in this research, the data that they're highlighting in this article, they're talking about how the US subscription streaming platform market, basically SVOD, which is what would Netflix be part of, that's Disney Plus, Amazon Prime Video. It's very fragmented, and YouTube itself has a really, really big, part to play in all of that. YouTube actually dominates everybody else, because while Netflix has a 15.7% market share according to their metrics, and that's still number one. Amazon Prime Video is not that far behind, and then you got Disney Plus and Paramount Plus and HBO Max in fifth, essentially. YouTube TV and YouTube together are huge, because all of those subscriber counts are in the millions. YouTube has 3 billion people. Now, that's worldwide, but it also includes pretty much almost every American. So the argument in this article is being made that, look, the idea of Netflix, according to Rao Agute, who's one of the researchers who's quoted here, he said that the idea of Netflix as a dominant streaming service is a misconception. Audience attention and spend are spread across a wide array of platforms. Basically, they're saying that, between YouTube and YouTube TV, if there's any monopoly in the media business, it's like Google. It's not Netflix. Netflix is, Netflix and every other streaming service operates at a different level. I think this is significant in the context of the Warner Brothers Discovery bidding war right now, because Netflix can use this as evidence to say that, oh yeah, this here is the kind of thing that we are pointing to. That's how you define a market. Like, we are competing with YouTube. That's why we need Warner Brothers Discovery. Paramount could make different arguments against it, because they're trying to make it, say that basically YouTube TV and YouTube are two different things completely. They don't play in the same playground as Netflix. But we'll see where that goes. John, we did hear from James Cameron again, because before this all happened, the bidding war started, James Cameron had said if Netflix gets a hold of Warner Brothers Discovery, it would be a disaster for Hollywood. Well, now he was on the red carpet for Avatar: Fire and Ash, John. If you click through onto that article in Deadline, they caught up to him on the red carpet, and they talked to him about, like, what are your thoughts now that Netflix has signed a deal with Warner Brothers? And, well, James Cameron said you can't just steamroll theatrical out of existence. If you scroll down in the article, we can kind of go through one of his quotes. He was just saying, like, look, I'm a big fan of theatrical. I've always have been. And specifically, James Cameron said, look, it's no secret that Netflix, they've kind of, in a funny way, they've had to make an accommodation with the new filmmakers like Guillermo del Toro and so on to keep a foot in theatrical. But I think it's no secret that they want to replace theatrical. And if you scroll down here, John, Cameron continues to say that, well, okay, I mean, maybe that happens. I don't know. Maybe I'm a dinosaur. Maybe he's a Navi. I happen to think that there's something sacred about the movie going experience, and just the ease and broad access of streaming is not the complete answer. Maybe the universe adjusts around those two principles, aka streaming and theatrical, but you can't just steamroll theatrical out of existence, and I'm going to stay opposed to that. So we know, according to what Ted Sarandos has said in the past,
right,
that and what sources close to Ted Sarandos and who know his thinking, they've been reporting in recent weeks that Sarandos wants a 17-day theatrical release in the long run. That's the magic number that he wants. Whereas most theatrical companies, AMC, Regal, they all want to restore a 45-day exclusive theatrical window. That's a 28-day difference. That's almost a month's worth of exclusivity that if Netflix had their way would go away, like if they bought Warner Brothers. Now James Cameron was a little even-handed in his comments because he went on to say, look, maybe Netflix modifies its game once it has a responsibility for the survival of theatrical as well. If they prevail in this, they'll become a major and we're down to half the number. Get this, Cameron, who's been in the business for 4 decades, when he started, there were twice as many major Hollywood studios as there are today. And he's saying, look, that is going to sort itself out, but I'm pretty foursquare on the idea that, you know, theatrical is a key part of the experience. Like, he makes movies for theaters. And and the other thing he mentioned, John, and I want to get your take on this.
Sure.
And I'll paraphrase what James Cameron said for this part. He emphasized that, look, the theatrical experience is different than watching something at home. While a good movie, that has a good story, and a good story will always look and sound good depending on whatever size screen you watch it on, the idea that when you go to a movie theater and then you're just sitting there, the lights are out, the only thing you focus on is the movie in front of you, and it's a communal experience of the people around you, and you just let the emotion of everything wash over you and do it continuously where you're not pausing and walking away for a bathroom break. It just that's a way to experience movies. No, I know, but I'm saying, like, but that's an way to experience a movie that is very different from in your
for me. I'm more like the thing is I'm not gonna say I have like ADHD or something, but like I get easily distracted. Like I think maybe it's just because like I'm technically Gen Z, you know, being on the internet for so long, you know, my attention span it's shortened. I'm not reading. I'm always on the internet, so that's on me. But I'm just gonna say like I'm easily distracted. Like it takes me like, for instance, it took me technically 2 days, and not because it was bad. It took me 2 days to watch one episode of it. Welcome to Derry. Why? Because I'm constantly distracted. I'm online. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna watch like 10 minutes, and then I go to Facebook. I scroll through Facebook, and then I go, and then I write a little bit of this. I do the thing for Fancast Friday. I was doing this. I was doing that, and I'm constantly distracted when I'm like, I want to sit down and just watch it. And sometimes I just can't do that because I have so many distractions. Sure, I could put my phone in another room. I can exit out of all the tabs and I can like try to focus. But like at the same time, like I'm like kind of like twitching. But I don't get that in a theater. I never get that in a theater. Like it feels, unless the movie is that bad, which is a rarity, it feels like a sin to fucking get my phone out, to fucking like, you know, sometimes I like move around in my chair, but like it's you and the fucking screen, and that's it. Sure, you might have an asshole who like is talking too much or coughing or like, you know, doing this. Maybe you got a kid fucking like climbing the seat next to you. That happened in Zootopia too. There was like a bunch of kids next to us, but it's like, you know what? Like, it's almost like a little bit endearing because it's like it's in its weird sort of way. It's like you're still part of the theater, and it's still like an experience of like dealing with that sort of thing. Because it's like, okay, I'm at home, and then it takes me like 3 hours to watch an episode of a TV show because of constant distraction. I don't get those distractions in a theater, and that's nice. Like I'm just focused on the movie. Like sometimes I can like sit down and watch like a 3-hour movie and be fine, but for the most part, I'm just like, oh, okay, all right. This is the one boring part of the episode. Okay, I'm gonna fucking text 16 people hi and be like, hey, what's up? And because like I'm like not engaged when I want to be or should be, and it's sad. And you know, I'm afraid that like not just like, oh, the theatrical experience will be gone, which I am afraid of, but it's just like now I'm just like, because it's almost like pulling teeth watching a movie at home. It almost kind of is. Like I have been trying to watch, like what I try to do in November is I catch up on all the 2025 movies I didn't get a chance to see in theaters, or they were not available in theaters, or they were like I couldn't personally get them in my theater. Like Freaky Tales was one of them. Liz gave her like great review of that, and I wanted to see it. But like it's hard to get over that like this is for me. I'm sure it's different for everybody else, but for me, it's hard to get over that hump of like sitting down and like doing it when I have like a million other things to do. Like my family needs me. I need to do this. I need to fucking eat. Like sometimes you forget to do that. You got to take a shower and like you got to do all that stuff. And it's just, you're constantly like distracted by stuff. Like it's almost like it's hard to almost like sit down and like really watch something. And it's just like, oh, okay, I got to do it when I don't want to feel like that, but not at a theater. Not at a theater. I am there. I'm 20 minutes away from my house. It's just me. I'm there. I'm watching the movie, and it's just it feels nicer. If I feel warm and fuzzy on the inside, I like that. I appreciate that. So that's I went on a bit of a filibuster rant. I apologize when this is already getting too long, but that's just how I feel, and I feel like getting rid of that I feel like I might not even watch a movie ever again because it's almost pulling teeth watching it at home because it just doesn't feel right to me.
Yeah, no, look, here's the thing. I agree with you for the most part, because can you imagine, like, just for a moment, just think about it, right? Like I was thinking of it the other day. It's all of a sudden, if you're watching Avengers Endgame for the first time at home, like if Disney did that, like if for example Disney was being bought by Netflix and then Avengers Endgame released it at home, and then all of a sudden you had this moment where Captain America is just fighting and his shield is half broken and his arm is literally falling apart, and Thanos is still ready to just kill this dude, and he hears the "on your left," and then pause or commercial break, like watching a movie on cable basically, because nowadays that could be simply because they're just commercials built into your plan, because a lot of people don't pay for the ad-free plan because it's more expensive, or because the 5 other people you're watching it with, one of them had the remote and they hit pause because they gotta go use the bathroom, and all of a sudden you're like and then now you're like in that time you're gonna like check your phone, and all of a sudden the emotional energy that's been built up in that moment dissipates, and then 2 minutes later, 3 minutes if it's commercials, or 5 minutes later, or even a minute or later, just moments later, it just doesn't feel the same. Somebody might turn the light on if the light was off because you gotta find their way to the bathroom. I don't know, like you just lose that sense of concentration, and you just lose that sense of focus, and that emotion that was washing over you just won't do it the same. That I've tried to watch movies at home that I watched in theaters, and to replicate like the experience or get anywhere close to it, you have to turn off the lights, find the best sound system that you have, and the biggest, best TV that you can possibly have, and then just try to watch it all the way through as if there was no pause button. Like I have to literally put the remote away, because then you're just like, you see something happen on your phone on the side, and you're just compelled to hit pause with the remote because it's right there. Check your phone, and then like for me, I'm a sports fan, so all of a sudden I get like a ding for like, I don't know, the Celtics won, or like Manchester United are about to start playing. Is distractions. You don't have that in the movie theater, and it's almost like you said, John. It's a cultural like thing where it's implied that you don't take your phone out, you don't call somebody, you don't text people, because we all have been in situations where we tried to do that, and then we felt like everybody in the theater was watching us, or like somebody was whispering that we were causing disruptions, or when that happens to us and we're the ones who are being disrupted by somebody else talking through the movie, we don't like that. But at home, it's just you can't control those elements, and it doesn't feel the same. Not to mention the theatrical experience is all encompassing, because the screen is always going to be bigger than what you got at home, unless you're like a billionaire, and it's going to have a better sound
like
system.
Martin Scorsese, where you can outfit your home with an actual movie theater screen. It's like, because I know somebody that's like, I prefer watching stuff at home. I got my fucking 80-inch. Yeah, an 80-inch still isn't a fucking movie theater screen.
Nope.
You can say, I have a big ass screen. I have a 100-inch. I have this, I have that. It's still not as big as a movie theater screen. Yeah. You could say all you want. I have surround sound. I have that. It's still not like outfitting your house with a fucking personal, even a personal movie theater isn't enough. You would need to fucking be like, have Tom Cruise levels of money to outfit. I'm pretty sure he does outfit your home with a giant ass fucking movie theater.
But like 50 or so seats, like you can actually fit, like you have a huge party and you can fit everybody in there.
Dolby seats with the heat warmers, and you can just like fall asleep. Like I have not gonna lie, with those Dolby theater seats, I have
exactly ESK.
I have straight up like considered going to see a bad movie I don't want to see
just
to sleep in one of those Dolby theaters, Dolby theater seats, because they are fucking incredible. Like because I've been like watching, like for instance, I was watching F1. F1, phenomenal movie, one of my favorites of the year, absolutely incredible. But even then, I was sitting in those seats. I'm like, bro, this fucking seat, I just want to fall asleep. But I'm like, I want to watch the movie because it's great. So I want to see, like, I don't know what shitty movie is in fucking like Dolby, right? FNAF 2. Like I'll go see
I was gonna
FNAF
say
2
that
in the theater, and then I'll just pop a melatonin gummy before I go and just fucking sleep the night away, or like go see Avatar Fire and Ash the second time so I can get like at least 3 hours of like the best sleep of my life.
Yep. That's by the way, that's Liz. Caleb, Liz knows quite a few people who work and own movie theaters. So no, but I agree with you. It's like it's the comforts of a movie theater. Those are all there to like help enhance the experience as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, look, here's the thing. Like I love what ESK at Unity is saying here. It's like we work really hard, and then those of us who are fortunate enough to like have, you know, some money to spare that are able to then go spend that. It's a luxury, but it's also like, you know, it's a good way for you to just find that sense of relief, like, and getting away from the house. Like if you, especially like I work a lot of do a lot of remote work. So for me to go watch a movie in a movie theater is like, okay, I get out the house, and it's a different kind of experience. I go get fresh hot popcorn, I can get the snacks, I can go sit down, and the communal theatrical experience is something completely different than what you can do at home. Like you said, John, despite, even if you had, you know, unless you had Tom Cruise kind of money, like you said, and you had a proper 50 to 100 seater theater at home, even then, like, how many times are you going to fill that, right? And then it's a different thing too when you're watching a movie and there's like 50 strangers sitting in the theater with you. It's a different kind of experience. Like those moments in Spider-Man No Way Home when you get Tobey Maguire coming in and Andrew Garfield pops in, the cheering and, you know, the reactions, the laughing, you can literally feel people's hearts drop when you watch moments like when Tony Stark says, "And I'm Iron Man," snaps his fingers, and all of a sudden, you know, Tony Stark is dead. Like I remember there were kids crying at the end of Avengers Infinity War because they thought his Black Panther dead. Like, I literally heard that reaction from kids, and that is part of the experience, the enjoyment, because, you know, like it's the whole, like, it's still real to me, like, you know, like you get that because experience from people of all ages, from all, you know, ethnic and economic and every kind of background. You don't get that at home. There's something to be said for that. And I think you also have to look at it from a business standpoint. For example, Avatar Way of Water, because of its theatrical release, it made $531 million in profit. That was Deadline's 2022 most valuable blockbuster of the year, because it made $2.3 billion overall. And of that, they made $531 million in just profit. Like of what the studio got.
That's also a big thing where when people start clapping, everyone starts, like, even I don't agree with like clapping when movies end. I don't know. It just I feel it just feels weird to me. But like you kind of want to join in, or like whenever I remember when everyone was cheering when they saw Toby and Andrew in No Way Home, and then you all want to start clapping. I wanted to clap when, you know, Daredevil came in, but nobody else was clapping, so I didn't start clapping.
I'm just a really good lawyer.
Yeah, like poor fucking, you know, Charlie Cox. He went to the theater and nobody reacted.
Yeah.
Like, I felt really bad, and it's like, no, my boy.
He should have gone to your theater, John. He should have gone to your theater.
No, that's what I'm saying. Nobody reacted at my theater. That was the problem.
I'm like,
everyone reacted to Spider-Man and the Amazing Spider-Man, but not to Charlie Cox.
No, but I'm saying you reacted. So like Charlie
Cox.
No,
I didn't. I reacted the second time I went.
You did. Okay.
I was like, I wasn't having it. I was like, fuck yeah, there we go, baby. Nobody reacted. Yep. I don't give a shit. Like, I gotta give credence to my boy.
Well, I mean, look, the other thing I was going to say about the business side of things, a movie like Avatar Way of Water made over $500 million in just profit because it was theatrically released. You throw it straight on streaming, it doesn't make that kind of money. And that's just a profit. Overall revenue of $2.3 billion is the third highest grossing movie of all time, and that then impacts how much money it makes for a streaming company in its post theatrical windows. Netflix will destroy all of that, because back in the day what used to happen, movies would be in theaters, Then they would go on physical media. They would eventually end up, in the digital era days now that we live in, they would end up on digital. Then they would end up, on streaming eventually, premium streaming like a Netflix or a Paramount Plus or a HBO Max. And then, like a year and a half, 2 years down the road, depending on how big of a movie it might be, then it would be on cable television. Like Avengers Endgame didn't end up on cable TV. You couldn't watch it on TNT until like 3 years after it came out. Nowadays, it just feels like movies skip a lot of those steps, and they just condense it to the point where each of those windows is another revenue stream. And if you destroy all of them, then you're destroying opportunities for the movie to earn money, and therefore the movie earns less money. Therefore, now we're in a situation where there's fewer movies being made because they're losing money. We have, how many times in the last, just a year or two alone, John, have you talked about, oh, there goes another blockbuster that lost $100 million for a studio? That did not used to happen. Part of it is because there's more of those movies that are costing as much money to make, but also part of it is because simply people now just are programmed to wait till the movie comes out on streaming. I'll wait till it's on streaming because they know it's going to do that literally in 4 weeks from now. Or like in the case of what was the Ryan Gosling movie, about the stuntman stuff. What was what am I forgetting?
Fall Guy.
The Fall Guy. Fall Guy was on streaming literally the week after it came out in theaters because it flopped so hard. That's not an exaggeration. It was literally a week, less than 7 days after release, it was on streaming. That's an extreme example, but like Superman was on streaming 35 days after it released. Back in the day, like Man of Steel, I don't remember the exact amount. I bet you Man of Steel was not on anywhere streaming. Granted, back at that time, Netflix was really like the only streaming company, and maybe like Hulu. So it's not a fair comparison, but like the movies even 5-6 years ago would not be on streaming for months after they came out in theaters. So yeah, that's a really good point by James Cameron, and that's really where we hope Netflix does not destroy that. Because if they keep chasing the 17-day theatrical window that Ted Sarandos loves so much, that he thinks is the magical number, then you won't have experiences like watching the next set of Lord of the Rings movies in theaters and having everybody just have, a mangasm when they're in the final battle and doing the manliest of manly things and defeating Sauron or whatever. It's not going to be about Sauron, but like those kind of experiences won't happen anymore for DC movies or for Dune movies. All of these things that that Warner Brothers owns, and all the IP we talked about earlier in the week, which, by the way, you guys can go check out the Tier List Tuesday. We ranked all the franchises, the top 25 franchises of Warner Brothers Discovery. But John, let's finish up this segment before we get to the quick hits. We got to talk about what's been happening with the deal itself. Paramount Skydance, if you guys know or remember from earlier this week, they put in a hostile takeover bid on Monday, and that was for $30 a share. That, they were saying, and they're still contending, is the better deal over what Netflix paid, which was $27.75 per share, and part of it was part of it was cash, part of it was stock, Netflix stock. Paramount Skydance's deal is entirely in cash. Now, of course, Netflix already signed a deal with Warner Brothers, so Paramount has to basically win over the shareholders to do the hostile takeover. Now, the deadline for that Warner Brothers Discovery's board has set to respond to that hostile takeover offer is next Friday, the 19th of December. The speculation, according to the sources here in the New York Post, is that they expect before next Friday, they're expecting Paramount Skydance to up their offer by 10%. What does that mean in terms of dollar value? 10% from $30 per share would be $33 per share, which would more than cover the $2.8 billion termination fee that Warner Brothers has with Netflix to walk away from the Netflix deal. And therefore, they would basically have the extra money to say, okay, Paramount Skydance is paying us more money, and they're covering our fee to walk away from the Netflix deal. All right, we're going ahead with it. And there was reporting earlier in the week that David Zaslav might be making indications to his close allies that, hey, if Paramount Skydance were to up their offer, and especially if they were to cover the termination fee that we have in Netflix, we might play ball. Like, we might actually sell to the Ellisons if that came down to it. The number being quoted was $35 per share, whereas this here means $33 per share. That would still cover it, more than cover it, because even a 1% increase would cover the $2.8 billion fee, but 3% increase would be a good premium over that, and that would really help the Paramount Skydance deal look like the better deal, because at that point it is more money, and it would even cover the gap in valuation of the TV networks that Warner Brothers owns, whereas Paramount seems to think they're valued a lot less than Warner Brothers Discovery seems to think so. That extra $3 per share that Paramount could offer with their increase in their deal value would make up that difference too. So all of this means potentially Paramount Skydance, if they up their offer, they could get ahead of the Netflix deal. But John, they call it a bidding war for a reason, because chances are Netflix will respond with increasing their offer as well. And ultimately, at the end of the day, you know who gets to win and walk away as a billionaire? David Zaslav. Because this man, right now, he's not a billionaire, but the amount of stock options he owns, which he would capitalize on.
He already has the asshole personality of a billionaire. This is just actually going to, complete it.
He could make anywhere from $500 million to a full extra $1 billion from just this sale alone, depending on how high the bidding price for Warner Brothers Discovery goes. So whatever happens at the end of the day, even if he doesn't have a job after the fact with Warner Brothers under Paramount or under Netflix, even if he doesn't have this job as a co-CEO or a CEO of Warner Brothers, whatever the case might be, whichever buyer ends up winning, he can still just become a billionaire and either just retire in the Cayman Islands or whatever he wants to go live out his life, live in Hollywood, or start up his own little thing. He could start up his own production company and sign a deal with another studio and get a cozy office. Or he could just, go back to New York where he originally started out his career. But yeah, David Zaslav making out like a criminal,
chilling like a villain, they would say.
Yeah, that's another way to put it. But all of that said, that this is still up in the air. We'll keep an eye on this. We'll of course give you the latest updates. You guys let us know if the Paramount offer, is the better offer, or the Netflix offer is better. What do you prefer? And then if Paramount ups their deal by 10%, which would make it $30 to $33 per share, which MTG said is crazy because that's way over what Warner Brothers probably actually is worth. But if that's what it takes, then I bet you Paramount will probably try to do that before next Friday. And if so, do you think Warner Brothers will actually break their agreement with Netflix and go with Paramount instead? Or will Netflix come back with a bigger offer? That's why they call it a bidding war. We'll keep an eye on this, and you guys let us know in the comments and hit the like button while you're here. With that, John, I think it's finally time. It's time. It's quick hits time. So let's get into the quick hits, and we'll make them quick because we got DC news to get into afterwards.
Yes.
And then we got Fancast Friday.
Let's try not to make this a 3-hour show, but we'll try our best. But Heated Rivalry skates to second season HBO at HBO Max, Canada's crave. So if you wanted gay hockey, guys, boom, they got you covered, and we're here for it. Go gays, go hockey, let's go.
This is awesome. I think this is an Australian show, but obviously HBO pays for a little bit of it because they have it on HBO Max in the US, and then in Canada it's on Crave. So yeah, I mean, the season 1 has been going viral since it started airing. It just started. It's not even done airing its entire episode run.
Yes,
so,
we know, Tony, because you're
yeah.
in Nova Scotia.
I'm excited for this, and I know Fiona watches this. I know a bunch of people that watch this show, and yep, it's definitely hot.
Oh, so there's porn in there. Okay, nice.
There's a lot of sex in this show.
Okay, cool.
So yes.
Anyway. But speaking of shows, It, Welcome to Derry, and I Love LA both clock best audiences so far as freshman seasons near their end. But yeah, I've been watching It, Welcome to Derry. I've watched the first 3.5 episodes. It's good. It's not great, but it's good. I've heard episodes 5 through 7 are like fucking amazing. Like I've heard like episode 7 is like oh my god, like the greatest thing ever. So, very good show. I have not heard of I Love LA until we started talking about it on this show. Mm-hmm. So it just goes to show like how popular that is. But I guess it is because
I've heard this. It's like for HBO fans, this is a big show. I mean, Rachel Sonnet created it. She stars in it.
I don't know who that is.
It's you see her right there. Anyway, Welcome to Derry and both I Love LA are 2 big hits for HBO. It goes to show you that they don't just have to like lean on Game of Thrones or The Last of Us or other DC stuff. Like they've got stuff all year round, and we're gonna talk about it more later in the show when we talk about Lanterns. But I'm not surprised that these shows are doing it for HBO. HBO is still the gold standard. So yeah, and both of these shows will have more seasons, I believe, too. So yeah, it's a good thing that they're continuing their strong runs while we still have the first season's airing essentially. Let's keep on going, shall we?
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
So the next thing we have in terms of another show, Amanda Seyfried to star in Skinny Dip as Carl Hyacin, who you might know as the author of Hoot, a series adaptation in the works from Adam Horowitz, Edward Kitsis, and Bill Lawrence, moves from HBO Max to Amazon, and essentially it's like kind of like a Gerald's Game, I Spit on Your Grave kind of vibe. I'm getting like a revenge thriller. So that kind of sounds interesting. And I do.
This
like
is
Amanda
right up
Seyfried.
Amanda Seyfried's alley.
I mean, with The Housemaid coming out,
it's I was like, this is literally feels like it's a very similar project. Like it's just she loves doing these kind of like thrillers, and it's called Skinny Dip.
It's better than fucking. Mama
She's got a niche.
I'll give them that.
Tony said, "I read Amanda and Skinny Dip." Excuse me. Yep. There you go, Tony. We'll see you in a few minutes, but until then, let's keep on going with the next.
By the way, Skinny Dip is a marine biologist who tries to murder his wife by pushing her off a cruise ship, but she survives and teams up with a former cop to get revenge on him and his corrupt boss. So the reason it's called Skinny, it's more like a satirical kind of thing. She was not wearing any clothes where he pushed her off the ship. That's all it is. So anyway, get your mind out of the gutter. Searchlight looking to make the worst movie ever made because they're tapping Taika Waititi's to direct, and Jessica Gao, who was the showrunner for the god-awful She-Hulk show, to adapt Deb Olin Unferth novel Barn 8. So they're just what are they going to get Pauly Shore to star? Like, who are they going to get to produce? Like Harvey Weinstein? Like, they're just stacking up the bricks to make the worst movie possible. Way to go.
Taika Waititi, who made Thor Love and Thunder, and Jessica Gao, who of course was the principal showrunner behind She-Hulk. So yeah, I mean, Taika Waititi's done some good stuff. Like, I did really love Thor Ragnarok. Jessica Gao, She-Hulk was for me mostly a miss. There were, other than one or two episodes, it was mostly just not a good show. So hey, they're working together. How bad could this be? We'll see.
The worst. Anyway, is Helena Bonham Carter the first guest to check into the White Lotus for season 4? There have been reports that he is going to be in early talks for a starring role. Obviously, HBO had no comment, so if you were all excited about season 4, maybe not, because I heard mixed things about season 3. So thoughts on this? I don't watch White Lotus, so I mean, Helena Bonham Carter is great, but
I'm gonna watch. I can watch Helena Bonham Carter in literally anything, so bring it on. The White Lotus, they've always had like some big celebrities in each of the seasons.
I would just like to say this: I hated Watchmen because it sucked and was terribly written and had some of the worst dialogue ever put to screen. Different reasons. You hate Welcome to Derry for reasons that don't make sense. I hate Watchmen for reasons that make sense. We are not the same. Anyway.
Wait, what? No, Thor Ragnarok is great, okay? I don't know I don't care what you say. You're not gonna change my opinion, just some geeky guy. And I'm okay. It's okay for me to like a movie that you don't like, by the way, and vice versa. But I just wanted to mention
Welcome to Derry has been good so far. I'm gonna hopefully finish it either today or tomorrow.
The White Lotus is going to France for season 4, so
yes. Hey,
in the French Riviera, Helena Bonham Carter, like I said, I'm all for it. So let's keep on going.
Anyway, the Andy Serkis's Animal Farm animation acquired by Angel, first trailer unveiled. I have the show, the miniseries, not the movie. I like the movie. The movie's good.
Yeah.
But I watched a bit of the trailer. I'm not a huge fan of the animation, and I've heard that it's a very, 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 very loose adaptation of the original book. So it's like, what's the point? And I just feel like, especially when it's acquired by Angel Studios, which is very much a propaganda factory, it just I don't have a ton of hope for this. So,
I don't have much to add to that, honestly. Like, it's Andy Serkis. Anything Andy Serkis does usually tends to be good. So I've heard of Animal Farm, so like, I don't know.
I read the book in middle school.
Yeah, I don't think every Angel movie
at the time, but I've since come to appreciate it because it's
not every Angel movie is bad. I did see a little bit of this trailer. It looks okay. It looks good. It's nothing that stood out to me all that much. Like, I'll just see if I can find it on streaming somewhere once it comes out, because this is not a movie I would want to go see in a theater, because it just didn't. I mean, it didn't get me all that interested. So we'll see.
But apparently Lewis Pullman still hasn't met Mel Brooks after Spaceballs 2 wrap. His spirit was there though, so it just goes to show that Mel Brooks may be directing, but maybe he's not like there because he's kind of knocking on death's door at this point. So, yeah.
No, I'm not surprised. Although, hey, look, Mel Brooks is... The fact that he's doing this to begin with is a miracle, and I'm sure, Lewis Pullman and the rest of the cast will get to meet him eventually. Like, it's fine. He's like literally, maybe 99. I'm not surprised that he's not spending a lot of time, on set and whatever. Because, like, for example, Stan Lee, in the last few years he was around, they were just filming all of his cameos in bulk because they couldn't get Stan Lee to fly to wherever they were filming their movies every single time. So, I mean, and Mel Brooks is a lot older than Stan Lee was at the time. So, yeah. Anyway, it's not surprising, but hopefully Lewis Pullman does get to meet him eventually. And before... Yeah. He's no longer around. Hopefully he's around for a lot longer though.
But apparently, director who scammed Netflix out of millions faces decades behind bars. Honestly, I'm for the guy.
Dude.
I'm for the guy. Fuck Netflix. Go this
I
guy.
will say this though. This was kind of hilarious. I remember we talked about this a few months ago. It was kind of a crazy story that somehow this guy was like essentially, pretended like Bernie Madoff that there was he was making it. Well, not the same thing exactly, but he got like tens, if not hundreds of millions, scammed out of from Netflix. What was it, 11 million? He scammed Netflix out of $11 million over a sci-fi series that he kept telling, oh yeah, I'm working on it. It's gonna be made. And then ultimately there was no sci-fi series ever made, and he just scammed them for $11 million. This was literally the definition of, it's Netflix, you're greenlit. And I can't believe something like this happened. Like I applaud his bravery, but I'm not surprised. Like, I'm not surprised this guy finally got caught for money laundering and fraud, and now he's gonna be in jail. So there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, but definitely very interesting how this all plays out. But apparently, Seth MacFarlane has posted this Deck the Balls for Ted season 2. New season's gonna drop March, which is ironic because it's gonna dropping in March. So I understand it's like Christmas now, but it's weird to have a Christstmas advertisement for something that's gonna appear in March. But
Yep. This poster had such an effect on Haley Steinfeld that it literally got her pregnant. Because that's what we're gonna talk about now. Because or maybe it was Josh Allen, but Haley Steinfeld and Josh Allen are having a baby, John. I feel like I need to... You know what? Before you move on, I feel like I need to find...
Let's find Geeky Guy's comment, because that was pretty good. That was pretty good.
This one?
No, not that
John,
one.
1114?
No.
Too late now, John. It's too late. It's tainted goods now.
Too late. Hang on.
No? Okay.
Where did he... Fuck, where was that? What you guys said, somebody check on Shamik Moore after this. Bro needs to be on suicide watch.
There it is.
That man is gonna be gonna be on fucking suicide watch.
Ted is the father. I don't know. Yeah, I just thought it was
I don't know
funny.
what the connection was between Ted and this, but like...
No, it was the tagline in the poster. What is it? Deck the balls? And I was like, well, Josh's balls are firmly in Haley's court, so good luck to them, and
even though he plays football, not basketball, but sure.
Yeah, they have multiple balls on the sideline. Like, that's how
Well, I
deflategate happens.
there's no courts in football.
What does that have to do with anything?
Because you put the ball in your court.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, never mind. All right, well, there's your quick hits. Speaking of balls,
we have
space
more
balls.
Quick hits.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Speaking of balls,
sorry, I had to close out of a bunch of Facebook shit because I have private stuff on here. But but Euphoria season 3 photos: Sydney Sweeney melts ice cream.
Dude,
Jacob
click
Elordi
the photos.
Raw meat and more. Obviously,
we gotta go through the photos. Look at that. That is a thumbnail fodder if there ever was one. I'm saving this photo for one day when we do a Fancast Friday where we have Sydney Sweeney on.
I mean, we already used her for Power Girl. I can't imagine we'll,
I can imagine we will have her on the show at some point about some other story.
Because Shameik Moore is a fucking creep. That's why. He was like non-consensually touching his co-stars.
Okay.
What the fuck
Oh,
are you
Lord.
talking about? He's a creep. Gee, they have to put them in separate booths for fucking Beyond the Spider-Verse. Jesus Christ.
Well, there's some other than Sydney Sweeney, there were a few other photos.
Yes, a few other photos. Yeah, it was Zendaya. And I don't know why this motherfucker's puking. Why are they puking?
I don't get it.
I don't know. Okay, I guess people hate Zendaya now. Then you have our boy Frankenstein.
Jacob Elordi, potentially the next James Bond. Apparently, the rumor.
Yeah, the Australian Jacob Elordi playing the British James Bond, because that worked so well in the past. Cough, cough. But yeah. Next, we have this person. I don't know who the fuck this is. Who is this?
Why am I forgetting I totally forgot their name. They look like Zoe Kravitz, but they're.
Isn't this Maud Apatow?
I think so. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And then Hunter Schafer, of course, and then finally the real star of the show.
Deck the balls. All right, let's keep on going.
But yeah, and then finally, tomorrow we say goodbye.
Hey, this is a little over the top because it's not like John Cena is about to die, but like John Cena will retire from wrestling in ring, as an in-ring performer. So I just wanted to highlight this here because literally in less than 24 hours time, John Cena will have his last wrestling match. One more day, Tony. That's right. Less than a day now, actually. He's going to be the first match on the card on Saturday Night's Main Event, which I think is on NBC and I think also on Peacock. So it is certainly the end of an era. He and you know what? Genuinely, like I said the other day on the show, John Cena is, unlike, there's a lot of wrestlers who people remember as the greats. You probably never are going to come across somebody who is just as genuinely a good person in real life as he is, as a wrestling character, like from all the eras, from Doctor of Thugonomics to Super Cena, Hustle, Loyalty, Respect, and now just, what he's doing in Hollywood. Like, who knew? We're going to talk about John Cena later on in the show in DCU Daily, but like, the fact that he's become as good of an actor, and you go back and watch The Marine or like those early WWE studio movies, and they were just not very, like, he had one emotion. And to now he can make you cry. That's a long way to come. And I always like to point out, one of the best things about John Cena is the fact that he holds a record for the most wishes granted for the Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Yeah,
and that's not some
how,
small
the
number.
Person has like 10, and he has like 477 or some ridiculous number.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh yeah, who hasn't seen that video? That was like prime.
His name is John Cena.
Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know if they did his farewell tour just right, but I can't wait to I guess see John Cena eventually. And look, he's gonna be, in my opinion,
John Cena. That's the thing.
Yeah. He's, in my opinion, always going to be the greatest of all time. Not only just from just a accomplishment standpoint, but just also just, how much he carried the business on his back for a long time. And the fact that, the people love him so much. The mark of somebody good, their legacy is that people care and talk about. They're expecting like a lot of people to return and like old wrestlers and big names from his Cena's career and to say their goodbyes. When you leave this life for the next one, and again, John Cena's not dying, he's retiring from wrestling, the number of people that remember you is, I think, a reflection of you as a person. I think the fact that John Cena left the mark as big of a mark as he did is a sentiment to who he is as a person and not just a wrestler and performer. So thank you, Cena, as the hashtag is on X, which is trending. It's been trending all day today. So yeah. But anyway, that's the quick hits. That's it.
That's it. We're done. Bye-bye.
Done. We're not done. The ride ain't over yet. Because we got to get to DCU Daily, John. Because, of course, much like we are at the end of the news section of the show, we will also be at the beginning of DCU Daily. Hashtag.
It's another project that's been blessed from the beginning.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see.
Right there.
Hey, buddy. Eyes up here.
Now you want to get nuts?
Let's get nuts.
Here we go.
victory mine. Ask me how am I doing, I'm telling you really I'm doing sublime. I never wait in a stewardess line, I just go do it, I'm moving my time. Really had nothing to do with it, how am I moving? I'm moving like you wanna shine. Follow my lead, don't listen to lies. I had to put me all in the line, that's why I know that victory's mine.
I prefer Jared Leto.
Hunka hunka!
Well, welcome on into another episode of DCU Daily. Of course, we've got a lot to get into today. We're gonna be talking about a lot of Supergirl, of course, because the trailer dropped yesterday, and we have the aftermath. I mean, we were live for like 2+ hours yesterday. We've already been live for more than 2 hours today, so we'll keep the discussion going with regards to like all the reaction from Supergirl. We'll talk about, well, what comes next. What did James Gunn say? What did Millie Alcock say? We also have to talk about how the movie is going to play out, because the director and James Gunn, Peter Safran, and Millie Alcock, they were all at this trailer launch event with the press only, so it wasn't for the public this past weekend. Now we have more quotes, which were probably time barred, and so now that the restrictions have lifted, a lot of articles have come out with just previews of what we are to expect from Supergirl. The portrayal of the character, of course, the main man himself, Jason Momoa, aka Lobo, has given us a better look at his character because we only saw him for a few frames. But we now have a better idea of the timeline of how the Lobo cameo came together as well. So we'll get into that. Of course, we're going to talk about the very, very, very not long sneak peek teaser to Lanterns. It did tell us a little bit about what that show is. But hey, no evil shall escape my sight, and brightest day and blackest night. We got a little bit of Lanterns to talk about today. It looks like we're gonna get some character development, by the way, in Supergirl ESK. So yeah, and then hey, the most unexpected story of the day is the fact that, or not the fact, I mean, it's still more or less rumored reporting, but apparently they're looking for a couple of male antagonists in the Batman 2, and Matt Reeves might want to have Brad Pitt play one of them potentially. We'll talk about it. We'll see how valid or invalid, or how believable is that report. To do that and so much more with me, I've got John. John, which part of all of that I just threw out there are you most excited about?
I'm excited to fucking rip Lanterns a new one, because fuck y'all for doing that. But here we are. Yeah.
Yep. Well, let's get into it, shall we? The first thing we're going to do is dive into the only quicket of the day, the parrot, duck, and pelican of DC News. Of course, James Gunn will get his time, but before we get to James Gunn's time, we got to talk about Zack Snyder. The man keeps posting on Instagram. He's, of course, a big Superman fan, and I wouldn't say that myself, but that's a matter of opinion. And he posted this shot here, which, unlike a lot of what he's been posting on Instagram, which are just photos that he has taken, like literally with his Leica camera and whatever, this is clearly not a photograph. This is like a VFX shot from Batman v Superman, which really portrays Superman as like this godlike, being, which is not the first time that's been done.
Zack Snyder's still not learning and still realizing that, he doesn't fucking understand the character. Way to go, bro. One of my favorite Superman images is showcasing the part about Superman that is not... I've said my...
Okay, but the thing is, look, I do like the shot. I think it was a little over the top in the movie in the context of it. We've certainly seen similar imagery even in this year's Superman, and it comes from the comics. It's not something that Zack Snyder invented necessarily. So yeah, I'm excited about this. Oh, by the way, Caleb's got a question for you. We'll get to that later. But yeah, Superman is a god who chooses to be a man. That's not an inaccurate depiction in essence. I think it's just more the nuance of it all is how you portray that. And James Gunn clearly has a very different version of that, portrayal that he gave us this year than what Zack Snyder did. Yeah, he has. Zack Snyder, of course, has directed 300 and all the Army of the Dead and Dawn of the Dead, all the other movies. He does post about them too. We just don't talk about those because we only care about DC.
Because Dan likes to torture me.
Yeah, do I? I did give you a couple of rage bait quick hits today, so and you know one of those ended up in a rant. So, but with that, John, let's talk about what did the Gunn say? Ring a ding ding ding. I'll need to make that happen. One day there will be an intro to this segment, but until then, let's just talk about what did Gunn say. John, why don't you take over for this part?
But James Gunn recently posted, because the Game Awards posted this trailer for Lego Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight. And just he's like saying, we're cooking with fire now. Snag your pre-order today and play Lego Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight on May 29th, 2026. The hype is real. So excited for this game. I'm not going to pre-order because word to the wise, guys, never ever pre-order a game. Wait to see what happens and then buy the game. But this footage looks awesome. I can't wait to play it. It combining all the canon into one canon, and it's just awesome to see, and I love it. I can't wait for it. Looks amazing.
What killed the dinosaurs? Ice Age. I can't. Am I doing a good Arnie? I can't tell. I started losing my voice. There you go. Every time I try to.
What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age.
Kino cinema.
You just blew everybody's ears out. No, James Gunn does not do more PR damage than good. I think overall his track record's been pretty good. To answer your question there. What was Caleb saying earlier? There was a question from Caleb in the chat.
Yeah, what killed the dinosaurs?
Right. I think that was more rhetorical, but anyway, I think he wanted to ask you about not being excited for Lanterns. Okay. Yeah, no, I think we know John is not excited about Lanterns. But hey, John, we got more. What did Gunn say? Let's get into that.
But he was honored to be named one of Entertainment Weekly's Entertainer of the Year, and grateful for John Cena, the incredible actors and teams that brought Superman and Peacemaker to life this year. So yeah, James Gunn considered one of the Entertainers of the Year, along with John Cena. So congrats to the both of them.
Yeah. That's again, like I mentioned before, it's been a year where both James Gunn and John Cena, I was talking about earlier, his wrestling career, but the fact that John Cena has been named the Entertainer of the Year as an actor the same year as retiring from wrestling goes to show you that how talented. Thank you. My impressions.
No, it wasn't.
Cool.
Don't lie. Don't be nice.
But John, do you agree with this? Do you think James Gunn does deserve to be the Entertainer of the Year?
I mean, yeah, he's like, dude only makes bangers. Like, he doesn't have a bad movie to his name. So, like, good for him.
He's got a pretty good track record. I've seen some people like create charts about like his hit rate in terms of the quality, whether we go off of Rotten Tomato scores or the box office. And there's, when you look at his superhero movies, I don't think there's ever really been a movie that missed. So yeah, and this year's Superman, I don't think it's his best work, but it's certainly great work. So yeah, let's keep on rolling.
James Gunn was asked if he likes the blonde Flash or the redhead Flash, aka Barry Allen and Wally West. Okay. Gunn says he likes both blonde and red hair, which, it doesn't give us a tease in terms of who is going to be in the DCU as the Flash, but I hope it's Wally West, because Ezra Miller completely butt-fucked the idea of Barry Allen on the big screen ever again. So let's hope Wally gets a chance on the big screen.
I mean, look, I saw this clip. This is from the Supergirl trailer launch press event from this past Sunday, and clearly you could see James Gunn, was just answering questions from some of the people that were there. And I mean, he probably fielded a lot of questions that were sort of like, live wires he could trip over. And in typical James Gunn's fashion, he just like smiles at you and then he says both, because that is the answer that you want to give, because you don't want to give anything away, especially because in a lot of instances he said, dude, I'm not even thinking about that right now. And I don't blame him if he's not thought about the Flash in the DCU, because he's thinking about what? Like, he's working on a script for Batman, for Wonder Woman. He's trying to help promote Supergirl right now. He's working on the Man of Tomorrow prep and all the pre-production. He's giving notes on Lanterns episodes. He's giving notes on Clayface. I'm running out of fingers. And like on top of that, all the other projects that are in development or some stage of production. there's probably a lot of these characters that he's not thought about. I don't think he has any plans for Aquaman yet, genuinely, because he probably has not even given it any thought yet, because he's got other priorities. So for him to say both, I'm not surprised. Like, I'm sure down the road we'll figure out which Flash we're going to see. I know, John, you wouldn't want to see a Barry Allen Flash again. You want to go in the direction of Wally West. James Gunn has sort of hinted at the idea that he likes the Wally West version of the character, and that we haven't seen a lot of that, so he might explore it. Of course, we want to maybe get an iteration of the character that we haven't seen on TV and movies before. But then again, doing another Barry Allen wouldn't be the end of the world. Or doing both, like maybe we do get multiple Flashes, like we are getting like 5 different Lanterns in this new show that we're going to talk about in a moment. I'm not surprised that James Gunn kind of got, gave us an answer that was really, I guess you could say the politically correct answer. He answered around the question rather than answering the question, and I'm okay with that.
What? Hold on. Who's talking about Batman 3? What?
What is?
We'll get to that soon enough, but like,
okay, but not the Batman. There's no Batman 3. There's just the Batman,
no Batman
Part 2.
3 yet. It has not. It's not confirmed. Batman 2. I think is maybe you typoed. Batman 2.
I think you typoed. There you go. Yeah.
Script is done, and the cast isn't even cast. Well,
they didn't say no. The official script only was completed if you go off of what Matt Reeves said like a couple of months ago, like a few months ago. Remember we had that tweet from him.
Batman 2 got completed a couple of months ago with Mattson Tomlin, and the cast usually comes after writing because they're in pre-production right now. That's usually how it gets. Usually writing, then casting.
And also, like, this is Matt Reeves, right? With James Gunn,
typos happen. I typed.
Yeah, it's all good.
I was just so confused. Like Batman 3, what? I was so confused. Anyway,
all
this
good.
guy's creeping me out. Let's move on to the fucking next thing. Jesus Christ.
But I was just gonna before we get to that though, I just wanted to mention, like, it's with James Gunn, he's still clearly, I think he's mentioned multiple times that he's still rewriting a little bit of Man of Tomorrow. Like, he doesn't have the final draft locked in, but he's already been doing pre-production work with other directors who are not also studio heads. They need to kind of get the green light from James Gunn and Peter Safran before they can get to that step. So that's why they didn't begin. And by the way, in any movie, the casting process takes place after you go into pre-production. You don't usually cast. I mean, it's rare. It does happen. Like, for example, Constantine 2, if it's going to happen with Keanu Reeves, we already know who Keanu Reeves is going to play, and that's Constantine. That's like a sequel. So we knew like Robert Pattinson was going to come back as the Batman. But like, as far as casting for new roles in this new movie, that is only just happening now because they're preparing to go into production. In general, for Hollywood movies and most movies, whether it's Hollywood or otherwise, the casting, the cast, the people who act in the movie are literally part of the project for the least amount of time, because they get cast like in mid pre-production. They're part of production. They do their thing on set, and then they're done. Then they maybe come, depending on the movie, the scale of the movie, they'll be part of the marketing campaign. But like the director, all the department heads, especially if you're the writer, you're involved for a lot longer period of time on the movie. And that's why for the Batman Part 2, like Matt Reeves has been working on it for years, a few years too long maybe. But as far as actors go, Robert Pattinson hadn't even read the script like a couple of months ago. I bet you he's probably reading it now. But like, if you asked him, I mean, he did talk about it, but people were asking him. He hadn't even read the script a couple of months ago. He had only like got an inkling of it. So, and he already knew he was going to be in the movie. So, yeah. With that said, though, we're going to move on and pivot over to talking about, of course, the not so long Lanterns. First sneak peek that is more than a photo. And John, I'm going to let you take over for a few minutes because I know you have a lot to say about this. Because I'm just going to say this. I was surprised that the amount of time we got Aaron Pierre talking about the teaser was longer than the teaser itself. And with that, I'll let you take on.
Anyway, so we did get a trailer early in the morning, and like a small trailer, like it was like 10 seconds. And then they're like, oh, we're going to plan something for later today. I think it was 4 p.m. on the East Coast. And then all we got was like Aaron Pierre talking about it. And then we got this like same trailer again. So, I mean, they had something to say about this. HBO and HBO Max have released a trailer looking ahead to their 2026 offerings, and with that comes our first look footage. So that little 10-second clip was part of like a bigger trailer, and so it lasts for about 11 seconds, and it was like just like some quick shots of the two of them, and it looked like based on an X post shared by HBO Max, it appears the first trailer of Lanterns will be released later today. Be sure to keep checking back for updates. And they said, oh, it's 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern time, and it turns out it was just Aaron Pierre talking about it and a separate trailer away from the other trailers. So in what has to be one of the biggest fails in recent memory, the footage that was first teased by HBO Max earlier today has ended up being nothing more than Aaron Pierre introducing an even shorter version of the preview we saw this morning. So yeah, whole heaping pile of dog shit, and yeah, pretty much. I think yeah, it's a shame that, like, okay, we got the Supergirl trailer, and then like a day later we were gonna get the fucking Lanterns trailer, and it turns out all we get is 10 seconds. It's like, guys, it's one thing if we just got that trailer and then that was it. Like, okay, cute, we got 10 seconds, awesome. But the fact that HBO promised, and then it was just Aaron Pierre talking about the trailer we already got, but like separate from all the other trailers, that was ridiculous. That was a little stupid. Like, imagine like a 1-2 punch of Supergirl and Lanterns too. And I'm not asking for like a fucking 15-minute fucking clip from the first episode. I'm just saying, like, the 11 seconds would have been fine, like maybe even 30 seconds, but like, even if it was just that trailer, and fine. But no, they promised, and then they didn't give us anything. So
I was muted. I was just gonna say, you know what it was to me, what it felt like. If you actually go to the Instagram page with the reel where Aaron Pierre's talking about this, when he says Lanterns, which is coming out, and then the beep, the part where he says coming out, like, and basically the release date for the show, like, redacted. So he probably said like a month, like he probably didn't give us an exact date, but like coming out, I don't know, like January 2016, not January, but like let's say September 20 or fall 2016, whatever the case might be. I have a feeling that like they probably put this out a little bit sooner. This felt like bad planning on the part of HBO, because this is a show that's gonna be on HBO. A lot of the marketing for this, HBO is responsible for. And we have seen James Gunn talk about before that he's not, remember he said like he wasn't really sure where things were with Lanterns because he's not as involved on the TV side, that he wasn't sure why we don't already have a trailer out. So clearly we know he's focused a lot on the marketing for the movies, like the Supergirl right now, prepping, I just mentioned, like prepping Man of Tomorrow. He's probably giving notes in Clayface. So between all of that, just the fact that he's directing a movie and then being a studio head, I think on the TV side of things, he's less involved, which may or may not be a good thing depending on how well the show turns out. But I think this is firmly, if you're looking to place the blame, I would say this is more of an HBO snafu than it is a DC Studio snafu. Because while they should be talking to each other, they probably do. James Gunn, if he was more directly involved in this, he wouldn't let something like this happen, because he knows that the fans would be mad about it. And that's why I think this was problematic, because the part of the whole thing where Aaron Pierre's just talking about the trailer is longer than the actual like teaser itself. Not to mention pretty much everything that they show us here in this individual teaser is from the big, like, HBO Max what's coming in 2026 video. By the way, you're muted, John. Oh, sorry, John, you're muted. Oh, you're still muted.
Sorry, I keep blowing my nose, and I don't want people to hear it. But I'm like, that's what I was pointing to Tony's comment. Do they? I thought of that. Like, after this, do they not believe?
Now you might. But the thing is, they kind of shortchanged everything else too. If you go back to the comicbookmovie.com article, there's an HBO tweet that went out.
Yeah, no, I know. We saw that. Yeah.
And in that tweet, like, they mentioned that, so they had like 8 shows in total they were advertising, and they all ended up being rolled up in this one teaser, this one video that's at the bottom of this article, which splits up the footage from Lanterns into like 2 or 3 different pieces. And really all we get is like Hal Jordan in the car with Jon Stewart, and he's like, the ring will decide when you're ready, and then the car goes off the cliff and Hal Jordan's rolling away while and Pierre's like, shit, like, am I gonna die today? Like, okay, you gave us like, I don't know, 11 seconds of footage. There's not much to see there, especially because for most people they would have wanted to see the lanterns doing lantern things, and so far we haven't seen them in their costume. We haven't seen the lantern actually being used. Whereas, remember when there was a movie that didn't even focus on a Green Lantern but had a Green Lantern came out this year? Remember when the trailer for that, the first teaser trailer dropped for that last year, pretty much almost a year to the day, that it had the shots of Guy Gardner, that, you know, him shooting the energy beam to like cover the building, facing off at Superman for a moment, and then like the flipping off people in the battlefield. Like, we had more footage of Guy Gardner in that first Superman teaser than we got in this Lanterns teaser that's meant to be about Green Lanterns. So this to me is just a snafu on the part of HBO. Clearly they should know what the fans would want. They would want 30-second to at least a minute, if not a minute and a half, trailers for all of these shows. Why shortchange us, especially on the comic book side? And you know, especially when you look at it from a hardcore fan standpoint, I think James Gunn understands more than probably the folks in the HBO marketing team. We would want a lot more. It's the whole expectation versus reality situation. And with Lanterns, there's a lot of fans who are kind of not sure about what they're going to do with this show. So they should know that, and they should try to over deliver. Like, go with a bigger first salvo and then hope that calms any fears, and then you can like trickle things out until the show actually comes out. But I also, like I said, that clip of Aaron Pierre looked like it had some information that was not meant to be there. Like, and so they might have just put it out early, or that clip might have been something they wanted to save for later, but then somebody decided it was good enough to put here, and clearly, you know, they got the wrong idea. So, for me, this is not entirely disqualifying of the show itself, but I do worry if, you know, this means that the rest of the marketing campaign is going to be riddled with the problems. Because a show like this on HBO, when it's a streaming service, not just a movie, fewer people have HBO than would have gone to see this if it was in a movie theater. So you want to make sure that people are excited about the show, because this could become the first, you know, flop for the still a relatively young DC Studios, and this today was worrying. They practically lied to us, John. They practically lied to us. Would you agree?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Yep. Well, they don't want to put a ring on it. Thank you, Tony. And on that note, I think it's time for us to move on to talk about The Batman Part 2. Because we know they're casting. We mentioned that earlier in the show. And it looks like as part of their casting process, not only have they pretty much, look, it's not officially confirmed, but we know pretty much it's about as confirmed as it can be without actually being part of a press release. Scarlett Johansson is going to be in The Batman Part 2. Who she's playing, we don't know yet. Although this upcoming story we're going to get into might help inform, you know, what character Scarlett Johansson might be playing, because they are looking to cast a mysterious antagonistic villain role, John. And apparently, if you believe the rumor here, Matt Reeves wants Brad Pitt, fresh off the success of F1. Not. He wants him in the movie.
Or maybe not. Because this has already been updated, saying that, no, he's not, that Brad Pitt is not going to be part of it. So, whoopsie-daisies.
Whoops. Who did this rumor come from originally?
This came from your boy motherfucking Jeff fucking Snyder. Of course. But you know, it's I don't think it was this one. I think it was another one where
if you go to the next article, they have a report where they were saying there's potentially two male villains they're looking to cast.
Hollywood Reporter shared a following update on Pitt writing that this one has been in the ether for months, and we looked into it. Sadly, sources close to the production say no, Pitt will not be in the movie, which we are told is now aiming to shoot in May. So it was initially in April, now it's being delayed a month, and now it's going to be in May. So very nice. Expected
that. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they moved that date again.
Or was Man of Tomorrow supposed to be in April?
No. I think the idea was they might start doing some second unit photography, shooting in Liverpool and Glasgow for the Batman as early as January, February. That was based on local reporting from from the UK, and then officially we knew that they were going to start filming the Batman Part 2 in April, which is around the same time that Man of Tomorrow will start filming, so they will both be filming around the same time. But I mean, moving from April to May is not that big of a difference. I just hope that it doesn't keep getting pushed anymore. But this rumor, I think, was also something that Jeff Snyder said that he couldn't corroborate, so he said take it with a grain of salt. And then it was originally something that My Time to Shine put out
My
there.
Time to Shine is hit and miss, so
yeah. And then the Hollywood
World
Reporter,
of Real is also saying, they're looking to cast 2 middle-aged male roles, but World of Real is also notorious for being incorrect. So this is pretty much, I would say this is pretty much all bullshit. Brad Pitt isn't going to be a part of it. The 2 male leads, 2 male villains, probably not going to be it as well. So just, take it all with a grain of salt, and
Yeah, I mean, exactly. And Brad Pitt has not been one to, I don't know, like jump headfirst into a superhero project. The closest we got was, like a couple of frames of Brad Pitt in Deadpool 2. So the Vanisher, as Tony remembers him. Speaking of You Can't See Me, we couldn't see Brad Pitt because he was the Vanisher. Outside of the one, frame where he was getting electrocuted to death. But anyway, John, if for sake of argument this were to change tomorrow and Brad Pitt were to be added to the movie, I mean, this movie's star power would just go through the roof, wouldn't it? I mean, I don't even know who would be the character that he would be.
I think one of the early,
if you're gonna pay him the money,
he was gonna be Dr. Arkham or something.
Yeah, that's a character worth bringing him in for. Also, there's still speculation that Scarlett Johansson might be playing like Phantasm. What was it?
Andrea Beaumont.
Andrea Beaumont. Also, Hush is still in the rumors. So anyway, you guys let us know. What do you think? Are they casting 2 villainous male antagonists? Would you want to see Brad Pitt join the DCU or the Becks at some point? If not the Batman Part 2, maybe the Batman Part 3 might have a bigger budget, might not have to pay Scarlett Johansson a big fee, so maybe they might have more money to put towards Brad Pitt. Let us know in the comments what you think. Of course, we'll keep an eye on this. I think the biggest news from this that is actually legit is the fact that this movie, the Batman Part 2, will start filming in May of next year now. A movie that has been in development for 3 years longer than James Gunn was working on Man of Tomorrow, and will now start filming after Man of Tomorrow goes into production. But who knows? Who cares? I guess as long as the 2 movies are good, we don't mind. But now, John, let's talk about our main event. The main event, the big movie of 2026 for DC. And we spent 2 hours talking about the Supergirl trailer yesterday. The both of us were fairly impressed, but also felt like there was some room to improve, and they definitely left a few things on the table, because you gave it a 7.5 out of 10. I gave it an 8 out of 10. We both thought the Street Fighter trailer today was a lot better. Mm-hmm. And there should be no world where I think Street Fighter should have a better trailer than Supergirl, considering the profiles of the 2 movies. Hello, Movie Spud. But before we move forward, I think Just Some Geeky Guy had a cool super chat earlier, or I don't know if it was cool or not, but he had a super chat. Thank you for the super chat, Just Some Geeky Guy, saying, "Why are the colors so gray in Supergirl movie? Where are my bright colors?" Oh wait, it's not a Snyder movie. Gray colors are okay now. I see what you mean, that there's some hypocrisy around it. But like I said before, for a lot of people, they do make a superficial comparison.
Also, it's not gray,
wrong.
It's brown. There's a difference, at least get the complaint right.
I think it's more like monotonous. I think is ultimately the idea that it's just, one bland color tone palette.
Yeah.
It's more the problem. It wasn't so much just the colors. Yeah, sure. Some people made that comparison. I think those people are wrong, because there's plenty of other movies that are way darker. Like if you're just looking at the color set, the color grading and all that. It's more the thematic nature of it. And even then, I think Supergirl might be, in terms of how dark it might be similar to Snyder levels. I don't think it's going to quite get to the level that Zack Snyder went with.
Well, I could actually see what was going on, unlike most Snyder movies. So
again, I'm trying to get away from the actual color grading and talk about the
thematic nature of it. No, I know. It's just... I get that, because I was saying, because I'm looking at Street Fighter. Yeah, it's supposed to be like a Western style, like it's to make the outfit, but there is reasoning behind it. But I still wish there was a little bit more color. Like I was watching the Street Fighter trailer, I'm like, this is where all the Supergirl's colors are. It's went to Street Fighter. That's what happened.
I think it's also because, like Caleb said, this movie is unfinished. What we're looking at, clearly there's a lot more CGI involved than in Street Fighter. because a lot of what we saw in Street Fighter was shot in camera. You could tell. So you light it, you shoot it, and then you don't have to do a lot of color grading to it because it's, you know, they're using like RGB lights and everything on set. So you get the look because, and sometimes you get a lot more of a look in camera because the directors made that decision on the day with the cinematographers and the camera team. Whereas like with a movie like Supergirl, you could tell while they did make some creative decisions and lock them in when they shot the movie, there's a lot more CGI elements, and so they will need a few more months to lock those in. Because ultimately what we get in the theaters, like we said yesterday, John, will probably look a little better than what we got in the first trailer, much like the first Superman trailer. The color grade was not done. So with that, and by the way, Caleb, yes, it's not like Zack Snyder invented the color gray. He just uses it a lot, and sometimes maybe overdoes it. Although, again, I'm a fan of most of his movies. But we're here to talk about Supergirl, John. And from that Supergirl trailer launch event that the press got a chance to attend this past Sunday.
Confirming what we already knew, essentially.
We got a bunch of quotes from Millie Alcock and James Gunn. We'll talk about it later, as well as Craig Gillespie, the director of the movie. But apparently, not only is Superman part of the movie, and then we were talking about additional photography, they might be putting more David Cornsweet in this. But to the surprise of almost everybody, because we thought he would have a small role, but maybe this implies he's been a bigger part of the movie than we anticipated. Millie Alcock said that literally on her first day of filming the movie, she was filming with David Cornsweet. And not only that, but it was all Kryptonian scene, and it was in a different language, meaning that were they speaking in like the Kryptonian language? And the whole scene, it was Kryptonian, she said. And it was like 2 degrees, they were freezing, so I don't know if that means they were outside the Fortress of Solitude. What does this tell you, John, like in terms of the role David Cornsweet Superman plays in this? I didn't even know that Superman spoke in Kryptonian. Like, wasn't he a baby when he got shot out of the planet?
He can learn because he got the stuff in the, you know, Fortress of Solitude and all that shit.
But like, what's your take on this? Like, because to me, this means maybe he's in a bigger part of the movie than we anticipated. Like,
so my guess is it's gonna be. I could see this happening, like the beginning of the movie is her perspective of the ending scene of Superman. Like, I could definitely see that. Like, it's in that, you know, it's in there. It's supposed to be cold because it's like, you know.
Yeah.
Even though it is on a set, but maybe whatever it is, I think it's like her perspective, and I think they might do that, and like, but then after, you know, she leaves, like, or right before she's about to leave, he comes out and maybe like they talk more. I don't know, but and it's more, or maybe she just comes in at the very end, and he comes in at the very end and they talk in Kryptonian. Maybe it's like a more, maybe they filmed the ending scene first, or it's like she comes back to Earth and she has like a Kryptonian conversation where it's like, I realize, like, she's like kind of working to overcome her trauma and survivor's guilt, and she's like telling him in Kryptonian. Like, maybe it's like a good parallel to what has been happening, even though both have kind of, Superman has lost faith in Krypton, and she, you know, is letting Krypton go. And the ironic thing is, like, they speak in Kryptonian. That could be an interesting way of doing it, like at the very end of the movie. You know. So I think that could be a cool way of doing it. I don't know. That's just my guess. I think that would be an interesting way of showcasing that. But yeah.
No, I believe you. I think that could work really well. Yeah, we don't want to put too much stock in this, but MTG saying, I think the Supergirl trailer was great, but the music didn't totally fit the content, but they needed a song to sell the movie, so that's the main thing. Yeah, a lot of people have been critical of that. I didn't mind it. I didn't think the trailer was bad. I feel like a lot of people are just ragging on this trailer. Look, yes, the Street Fighter no, I think the Street Fighter trailer looked great, but again, it's not gonna hit everybody the same. It's just more, again, it's a fine line between, you know, as for having a trailer that kind of works. I saw somebody else talking about it yesterday, saying that the Supergirl trailer felt a little disjointed, whereas, you know, like when you watch the Street Fighter trailer, it all feels like it's part of the same tapestry, and maybe that's what throws people off, or was throwing people off, because there's just a lot of different things going on. And while Street Fighter is such an iconic IP, we know every character. Beyond Supergirl, and even Supergirl herself, not a lot of people know everybody we're going to see in this movie, especially how all the pieces fit together. So maybe it's just the lack of familiarity with it. And so maybe their approach to it should have been more about kind of showcasing certain moments, where I think they played the trailer like from a narrative standpoint almost as if like we're meant to know who Supergirl is, which yeah, if you saw Superman, you saw her as Supergirl, as Millie Alcock, as Kara Zor-El. But anyway, there's probably many reasons why people liked or did not like the trailer. Let's keep on talking about what other people are saying. I think James Gunn had a couple of things to say about this trailer as well, John. So let's talk about what he said. And I think this is significant because he said, look, DC's Supergirl now will prove that not every female superhero lead has to be perfect. That's really what spoke to me both in the book and the script. If you scroll down here, I think what he says in the quote is kind of significant because it's almost something profound that I didn't think about, but I think when he describes it, it's like, yeah, I'm totally on board with what he's saying. And he said, look, I think that what Supergirl represents for young women, especially, is that you can be flawed. You don't have to be perfect in order to come to some sort of internal self-resolution. I think that we are kind of thrusted upon this narrative, especially women, that you have to be perfect. I think that Kara is someone who is beautifully leans into her flaws. I think that's really, really special. And you know what? That is an underrated take. I know that the two of us are just guys and that a lot of you guys watching are also guys, but like, here's the thing. If you are a woman and you grew up in the like past 20, 30, or however many years, like there's an expectation for young girls to be like perfect. And because and we live in this like male dominated world, as we know, like the patriarchy and all that. And if you think about it, superhero movies that were led by female characters, whether it's Captain Marvel or Wonder Woman, which are the two biggest examples, they're two characters who are meant to be like these role models and therefore like almost like these goddesses who can't do anything wrong. Whereas I think Supergirl is showing for the first time in the superhero genre, leading her own movie, because I don't think Wakanda Forever was just like the Riri Williams movie. I think it was more of an ensemble cast. So I don't take that as the good example of this. This here, I think, is a better comparison to those two movies where it's very different going from what we saw with you know, Diana Prince and what we saw with you know, Carol Danvers versus what we're seeing here, John. I love the idea that Millie Alcock Supergirl, Kara Zor-El, is an imperfect person, much like a lot of the superheroes we have. Like, the whole reason why we love Bruce Wayne is because he's a flawed character, and yet he perseveres. You know, Kara Zor-El is a flawed character, and yet she perseveres. And we don't get to say that a lot about, you know, many female superheroes. That's true. That's true, but like again, in terms of examples, there's not that many of them, and I think in terms of being featured the way they're doing it here, it's pretty unique. And all I'm saying is, look, it doesn't invalidate what James Gunn is saying, and he's making a pretty good point. I don't know, John, what do you think about this?
I think it's a flawed way of looking at it a little bit. I think he has a little bit of a point, but at the same time, if you look at the plethora of female-led movies in the past, I think there are more like flawed characters than people realize. And I think going back even further than that, there are plenty of very flawed female characters that are intriguing and relatable. I don't think they just started to become flawed and relatable 2 seconds ago. I think that's a very like surface level take, but I understand what he's saying. I think in terms of the deeper meaning behind it, I get it, but I just don't think he said it very well. I think the idea of she's just a character. She's not, you know, she's not the beacon of love of Wonder Woman. She's not this, emotionless badass like Captain Marvel. She's just a character. Not saying that's and that's what I agree with. He's saying that that's not a bad thing. Sometimes all you need is a really good character to latch onto. You know, that's essentially what it is. So I agree with him on that. I just think I don't think you should shit on the entirety of female history in cinema.
No, I don't know if he was. I don't know if
that's what I'm saying. Like, I think he could have worded it a little bit better. That's what I'm saying. You know, I
don't think he was saying this. Look, I don't think what he's saying is a diss on everything that has come before it. I think it's more just saying like what appealed to him was this idea that she's not a perfect character, and then a lot of iconic female leads, I'm saying more protagonist leads rather than antagonists, obviously, that there's this expectation that you need to be perfect. Sure, I'm not saying he's reinventing the wheel here. They're not reinventing the wheel in terms of like the characterization of Supergirl. But then again, we haven't seen the movies, so maybe what he's talking about is something we don't expect maybe necessarily. Like maybe there's a nuance to what he's saying that we are not understanding because we haven't seen the movie yet. But at the same time, it doesn't, just because it might have been done before doesn't mean that what he's talking about here is invalid, is what I'm saying. Like you said, maybe the wording wasn't perfect, but he's also, this is from like an interview doing a press event, like you know, he's human, so I get it. Like anyway, it's not like he was doing what Quentin Tarantino was doing and putting down other people like and their acting ability. So
right.
And Craig Gillespie knows how to treat like, you know, a good.
I mean, I hope not, and I don't mean to put down Craig
characters.
Gillespie. I hope not, only because I want a different, like, I kind of like what Mission Impossible did for the first 5 movies, is have a different director do Mission Impossible their way and like have it feel different. That's what I want for the DCU. Is I don't want just like a fucking same vision for everyone. Like I want Superman to feel different from Supergirl, to feel different from Lance, regardless of quality. Like I just want it to feel that like clearly it's like you have Chris Mundy doing his thing for Lanterns. You have James Watkins doing his vision for Clayface. You have Craig Gillespie doing his vision for Supergirl. You have James Gunn doing his vision for Man of Tomorrow. You have all these different people doing different visions for different characters, but all having that unified cinematic universe. That's what I think DC is kind of did so well in the DCU to a point, but even then there was too many flawed projects to make that work. But I feel like DCU now, they're really embracing it. That's what James Gunn has been looking for, because that's the problem with the MCU is, sure, you get someone who did this movie really well, like, oh, you know, John Watts did Cop Car, Daniel Destin Cretton did this movie, the Russo brothers did this movie, and then literally it all feels like an assembly line of the same movie over and over again in terms of like vision and craft, because it's just like they want to crank the shit out as fast as possible and just to get one step ahead of everything, and it just ends up being blah, and now people are sick of it. I don't hope that for the DCU. I want a different, so I want someone like, I mean, maybe we can do a director fan cast for Wonder Woman. I would love to see it. But I think getting someone who knows the character very well, and someone who can understand like the idiosyncrasies of Wonder Woman, what Anna Naguera wants to do with the project, and get someone like that. Just don't get Greg Gillespie because, oh, he did a female character very well, he can do this one really well. Well, that's not necessarily the case, because as you just said, Wonder Woman and Supergirl are very different characters. So I play to the strengths of a director and have them do that. That's what I'm saying, essentially. Have it feel different. I want it to feel different, because then that's how you get up on the superhero fatigue that's been going on for the past like 10 years, is people are, you know, getting sick of these movies. So it's just like, have them feel different, have different characters, intriguing plot lines, and, you know, James Mangold doing this character, this guy doing this, and make it feel different. Get someone else for Wonder Woman to have their vision. I want to do Wonder Woman for years. I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to do it for different from Patty Jenkins, and then do that. I think that would be awesome.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think ultimately what James Gunn was saying here, though, was just, look, Supergirl is not a perfect character. She's not necessarily a role model in the way that Captain Marvel and Wonder Woman are meant to be. But like you guys said, there's like other examples like Black Widow, for, you know, Black Widow, though, I bet you Black Widow is going to look like the inferior movie compared to Supergirl. But we'll see. We haven't seen the movie yet. Let's keep on going. We've got a little more to talk about. I think Craig Gillespie is it next that we were talking about. He was also saying something about the movie during the press event. By the way, good idea for Tier List Tuesday movie, Spud. I'm going to note that down. Right. Spielberg's birthday is next week. Actually, that's a good idea. I'm going to note that down.
But he had this to say, what I loved when we met, I said, how much do I have to adhere to Superman in that world? And he was like, we're approaching this like every movie is its own graphic novel. You get to put your stamp on it and your style and your vision. Exactly what I was saying. And that was incredibly exciting. And I'm very grateful for that. So I know people are going to not believe that. They're going to, oh, fucking, it's Giant Guardians of the Galaxy. It's James Gunn being a parody of himself. He ghost directed it. I've already seen so much of that in the reaction to the trailer, and it's just like
it doesn't make sense. We've seen 2 minutes of the movie, if not even that much. Like we've seen less than 2 minutes of the actual movie, and we haven't. It's totally ridiculous. Like we haven't seen the finished version of even that footage that we got to see. So, and out of context, everything can sound great or terrible. So once we see the movie itself, we'll get to see just how much of an impact Greg Gillespie had on this film. Because you got to remember, like for example, Christopher Nolan helped develop the script for Man of Steel. David S. Goyer wrote it. David S. Goyer has worked on a lot of other things, including the Dark Knight trilogy. But Zack Snyder directed the movie. As Zack Snyder directed Man of Steel looks very different than if a different director, I think what was that, Tony Scott, if he was directing Man of Steel, we would have gotten a very different Henry Cavill in the movie. Maybe not even Henry Cavill as Superman. So the director has a very outsized influence in Hollywood movies in terms of the creative output of the film and the look and sound and how it's shot and just the nuances of storytelling that make a big difference. And it's hard to quantify it sometimes, but ultimately I think when the movie comes out, we'll be able to tell that it is firmly a Craig Gillespie film. And if it feels like very much a James Gunn film, we'll see. Like I said, you'll need to look for those hallmarks. Like if there's James Gunn, trademark James Gunn humor in there, stuff like that, we'll have to see. But even then, like I'm sure James Gunn had some notes for this, and if that shows up in the final movie, then what's wrong with that? He's the studio head. It's just with Kevin Feige, we wouldn't know because he doesn't direct movies. With James Gunn, we do because he does direct his own movies. So anyway, I don't think that makes it a bad thing necessarily. If there was a James Gunn influence on the film, as long as the movie is good, that's what matters. But yeah, John,
so essentially. This is reiterating what he was saying before. Yeah. You have all that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yep. Exactly. Just saying that male superheroes have been for a while like these flawed characters, and now you get to see that with Supergirl. Because I think the idea was like Supergirl is gonna feel like ultimately sort of like this anti-hero, more so than like what Wonder Woman feels like and what like I said, Captain Marvel, whereas Superman is very much firmly a hero. Like, because in the movie trailer itself yesterday, I think one of the favorite lines that I had, we didn't talk about it a ton yesterday in the live reaction, but I love the line towards the end of the trailer where Millie Alcock says, "Superman sees the good in people, I see the truth." And I'm like, that's a very like piercing, very specific, instant characterization of what we should expect Kara Zor-El to be like in this film. Like she's a lot more pessimistic, and she's very much always questioning, if somebody is actually a good person or not, simply because of how she grew up and the experiences she had, versus Clark, who always wants to see the good in people, which is what makes him punk rock. So maybe Supergirl isn't quite punk rock in the way Superman is.
Maybe she's punk rock in the classic sense, Yeah.
Maybe that's the point I think that James Gunn is trying to get at. So anyway, let's keep on going, John, because it's time for the main man to enter the chat. Because despite the fact he was only there for like blink and you miss it, less than a second in the trailer, one of the most anticipated parts of watching the first Supergirl trailer yesterday was looking for where are we going to spot Lobo, of course being played by Jason Momoa himself, the character he has been campaigning to play for years, that he originally thought Zack Snyder cast him for until he was told it was Aquaman, and then Jason Momoa made Aquaman his own, made $1 billion movie, but now he gets to play the Zarnian in himself, the role that he might have just been born to play this whole time. John, tell us more about the journey that Momoa went on to become Lobo, because it's finally happening. The Pride of Gypsies is gonna be Lobo, and we know now what he looks like, and he looks pretty comic accurate. It's like you look at a lot of the fan art and AI generated versions of Jason Momoa as Lobo, and I'm like, what we got in the trailer is pretty much exactly that, don't you think?
Yeah,
he is the main man.
And this is him posting about not just being the main man, but also being Blanca from Street Fighter, which is also pretty awesome. So
it's gonna be Jason Momoa's world. We're just living in it.
We're just living in it. Oh, sorry.
That's, by the way, a much better look at the character. It almost looks like an AI enhancement, because in the movie trailer itself is very dark, and they cut away from it before he walks into the light. So we only get a little bit of a glance. And even when I did the frame by frame, we couldn't really, even the brightest version of the shot was not very bright. But obviously, the trailer is in 4K. You can go in and enhance it, enhance and brighten it up. So, what do you think about the look of Lobo? Is that even? He's not even wearing a shirt, is he? He's just got the jacket on, and that's
Yeah, I mean that's what he
just
usually wears. It's
Yeah.
usually like a vest or something, but he's also worn like a full jacket. But yeah, looking fucking awesome. God damn, I can't wait.
The face make again, like I said, it was looked very practical. Yes, when we were talking about it yesterday. There's not a lot of CGI on this character.
These
and that's
fragging
just the way we
Stitch
like
is
it.
fucking annoying the hell out of me.
All right. Well, Lobo has entered the DCU chat, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. For only half a second, the way this trailer is cut makes you think that's where the two of them come across each other. I want to say that's probably a red herring, but whenever, wherever, and however much of Lobo we get to see, I'm sure he's going to be one of the cornerstones of the marketing campaign. What I think somebody mentioned, maybe the marketing team of Supergirl, I think I saw this on social media, that we're about to go down the summer of Supergirl. John, are you believing the hype? Are you believing that's the goal here, the summer of Supergirl? Is that where we're headed? Because we have already got a bunch of stuff.
Like
let's go through some of the marketing.
Supergirl, but it's fine. It'll be okay.
True. Oh, I mean, summer starts in May, right? So technically, like
summer starts in June. Technically, June 20th, 21st.
Well, the summer movie season more or less starts in May, most years. So like you get the first big blockbusters coming. I know, but yes, you are right in the technical sense. But let's talk about the marketing of Supergirl, because if you're gonna have a summer of Supergirl, then you gotta make sure you're just flooding the internet with all kinds of marketing. And this did start putting a bunch of promo artwork out there, John. So let's take a look at a few examples of that. We've got that red and black version of the logo with Crypto looking really cool. I love the grungy look here. And the summer movie season does start in May, even if the actual calendar dictates that the summer equinox or the spring equinox, and therefore going from there, the actual summer doesn't start in June. But if you can go down and click on that, oh wait, what is that here? Oh, this is a quote from Variety, but Craig Gillespie saying this is really an anti-hero story. She got a lot of baggage and a lot of demons coming into this, which is very different from where Superman is in his life. I agree with that. I think that's, again, she is more of an anti-hero, and that's what the trailer was meant to tell us. The whole truth, justice, whatever. So the promo art is pretty impressive, John. What did you think about these? I do like the grungy nature of it.
Yeah, as I mean, he said it was like kind of more punk rocky, like actual punk rocky. So, definitely.
I love the. What was your favorite of all those? I thought for me it was the red and black logo with Supergirl and Crypto.
The red and black. I like this kind. I like the plainness of it, the black and white. I also like this too. I mean, I like all of them.
Yep. Toys, dolls, skirts, and shirts, or shirts and skirts. I'm sure we'll get all of those in the coming year. I'm sure we'll be talking a lot about it for the next few months. But John, the Supergirl Instagram account, hard at work, the social media team doing their big one, kind of like what Superman's social media team did this past year, or the year that we're in. This is a highlight reel from the press event where they launched the trailer with the press this past Sunday before it got released to everybody else that we talked about yesterday. Your thoughts on the event? This clearly looked like a lively atmosphere. That you see James Gunn there, but speaking a lot. Craig Gillespie, Amelia Alcock. It's an intimate space, but they still have a lot of people there. This is in New York City. Peter Safran was also there, although he didn't do a lot of the talking, it seems like. Your thoughts on this, like launching a trailer this way instead of just straight up throwing it online? Because this way you have, I guess, that flood of articles, even if they were time barred and there was an embargo on them until like today after the trailer drops. A lot of people that went to this now are posting all about it and posting videos of interviews and stuff. And this just gives, in my opinion at least, a lot more shelf life to the trailer launch than if it was just put a video online and hope for the best. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it shows that they care. It shows that they want to make this a proper event, and all of that. So I agree heavily with this, like making it like, because Supergirl isn't as known as Superman, so isn't as popular. So you gotta really pump this up, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I do love it. And we're going to see a lot more of this in the coming days and weeks. And anytime it's something significant, like somebody asking James Gunn about his preference for the Flash in the DCU, we'll talk about it. So let's keep on rolling. We got a couple of more insights into the aftermath of the Supergirl trailer reaction, the summer of Supergirl marketing that's already going on. So not just the the trailer launch event itself, but remember they had this whole booth at CCXP, which is just wrapped up, I think last week. And well, this is a highlight reel of all the things people got to do at the CCXP Supergirl booth. John, are you jealous that you weren't there? Because it looks like a lot of fun, a whole lot to do.
It does look like fun, but I also hate people and hate noise, so probably would have been a lot for me. Also, I can't speak Portuguese, so I think that would have been also a major thing. So there's that too.
Maybe you can use the Google app to translate, and it will talk to you in English, and then we'll talk in Portuguese to the other person. Anyway, but hey, what was Millie Alcock listening to recently, John? Was it the song from the trailer? I think Blondie, was it?
Yeah.
Again, these are the little small bits of social media advertising. I'm sure they did this at some event where they got Millie Alcock in to do a few social media activations and whatnot.
Yes, very nice, very nice.
Clearly, there'll be a lot more of the soundtrack that we'll get to know about as the weeks go on.
People are pumped.
If you go off of this graphic, everybody loves the trailer, even though we've talked about a lot of people talking about some of the negatives or maybe not being as impressed by it. I don't know if this trailer was as universally well received as Superman, but if you zoom into this, you've got the people who've got the positive reactions, and clearly that's what they will highlight, saying "I'm so ready," or what was somebody else saying there? We're so back.
Casting. Look up everyone. She's perfect for the role. Yes, yes, yes. This is going to be fantastic. Wrong hero, but sure. Kara's here, and it's only the teaser. We've never been more back at a trailer since Superman last year. So, yeah, good stuff.
Yep. Want to bet James Gunn chose the song for Supergirl, as says Caleb? I don't know. It's possible, and I wouldn't blame him. Again, he's the studio head. It's not a bad thing that he's making some of these decisions. I think it would be bad if he's stifling other creatives in the process of doing it. We don't know that yet, but we will see. All right. And what's this?
Superman sees the good in everyone, and she sees the truth.
There we go. There we go. I think, again, for me, this was the line of the trailer. Regardless of whether you liked or did not like the trailer, the fact that they make that differentiation, that Superman sees the good in everyone, I see the truth. That is literally, if you want to distill the characterization of Millie Alcock's Kara Zor-El and Supergirl. And that, again, in the first trailer establishes the difference. What should you expect from Supergirl and how different it's going to be from Superman? If you didn't see any of the rest of the trailer, that right there gives you everything you need to know. And you know what? A lot of people are excited about Supergirl, and I think it did the job of raising our excitement levels. So that's what a trailer should do. And John, with that, I think we are wrapping up DCU Daily. We got one more thing to go. We got to talk about Mr. Miracle coming up on Fancast Friday, so do stick around on the channel. Hop on across over to that live show. We're going to take a few minutes break. We're going to go rest our voices for a minute or two, maybe use the bathroom, get a couple of drinks, because I'm out of ginger ale. You guys do the same, but then join us for Fancast Friday. You voted on it. It's going to be Mr. Miracle in the DCU. We've got some good picks that John came up with. And then, we'll talk about the poll for Tier List Tuesday. So until then, guys, don't forget, not only are we blessed at the end, we're also blessed at the beginning.
It's another project that's been blessed from the beginning.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see
right there.
Hey, buddy. Eyes up here.
Now you want to get nuts?
Let's get nuts.
Here we go.
Victory mine. Ask me how am I doing? I'm telling you really I'm doing sublime. I never wait in a stewardess line. I just go do it. I'm moving my time. Really had nothing to do with it. How am I moving? I'm moving like you want to shine. Follow my lead. Don't listen to lies. I had to put me all in the line. That's why I know that victory's mine.
I prefer Jared Leto.
Hunka hunka!
And fuck Jeff Snyder.